All right. Let's see. There we go. All right. We should be all set now.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the first episode of the Juicecast. Today we have ST, who's pretty much permanently on the show. We're here pretty much every single time. And also today we have Craftus as a guest, and we're going to be talking about Sonic Adventure. So quickly, I'll just do a little bit of a rundown of exactly what this podcast is about. And it's pretty much, we're going to be focusing on a specific series for a little bit. Like in this case, we'll do Sonic Adventure, then Sonic Adventure 2. And what we do is we pretty much do a little bit of a deep dive / analysis into the game that we're talking about, between the gameplay, the story, and then also our subjective experiences with that game, our personal history with it, stuff like that, and kind of give a rundown of what we think about each of those aspects. Sometimes it might not even be on a game, sometimes it might be on something silly, but that will usually be the majority of the topics. So, and we have a rough outline of what we want to say, like our thoughts before we come to the podcast, but most of it's just going to be us bouncing off of each other. So, yeah. Before we continue, I just want to double check to see that sound levels are all set. So if you guys, one at a time, can both talk.
No, I don't feel like talking. In fact, I don't feel like being on this earth anymore. I'm going back to my planet.
Yeah, no. That's
What do you mean, yeah, no? You're welcome to come with me.
I would like to stay here. Thank you very much.
You say that now.
True.
Just wait until 2025.
True. Yes, the little pog champs are the subs for the day. So as long as levels are good, I guess we can start by talking about our personal history with the game. I'll go last. Craftus, you can go first on this one.
Well, I mean, I've kind of grown up playing Sonic Adventure since I was little. I have like 3 copies? No, 2 copies of Sonic Adventure. 1 for the Dreamcast, and then I have like 3 Dreamcasts. One of them I ended up giving to you, and then I also have Sonic Adventure DX that I got for the GameCube when it came out. I didn't get the PC port just because never really saw the point in doing that, but most of my time was spent playing that game until eventually I got SA2. But have a very long history with the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think mine is as long as yours, but it's pretty close. Just because I never owned a Dreamcast until 2 weeks ago when you handed me one of yours, which is promptly over there. Still on Sonic Adventure for it, though. ST, how about you?
So, my history with Sonic Adventure is practically the exact opposite as Craftus's. I didn't play Sonic Adventure until the DX version on the GameCube.
Yep. Same.
If you know the release dates, Adventure 2 released before Adventure 1 DX on GameCube, which I don't know why they did that. It's really confusing thinking back on it.
Well, I know they used assets from Sonic Adventure 2 in DX, like the models are based off of the SA2 ones.
Mm-hmm. So me as a little kid, I went into Sonic Adventure DX and thinking for a bit, like, where are all these other characters, right? But obviously, it didn't take me too long to figure out, oh, this game comes before the other one. That's weird.
Yep.
My introduction to the series was with Sonic 3 and Knuckles. I already knew who, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were. Eggman / Robotnik. And so I was already familiar with the world, but yeah, playing Adventure 2 before Adventure 1 was really interesting.
How did
say
you
the least.
feel like
Yeah.
gameplay-wise going from Sonic Adventure 2 to Sonic Adventure 1?
I did notice, even back then, that Sonic felt, at least to me back then, a little more fluid. Slightly more responsive in terms of his spin dash. Like, having recently played Adventure 2 again a little bit, there's a bit of a delay for when Sonic and
there's a
Earth Shadow
spin dash delay
dashed.
in Sonic
Yeah.
Adventure 2, especially the PC version is a little bit more just because there's more input lag in general, so you notice it.
Okay. Yeah, I should boot up the GameCube when I play that again. But, yeah, I noticed things like that. Sonic's jumps were a little more floaty. But beyond that, not really. I definitely noticed stuff with Knuckles, though. Absolutely.
Yep.
But we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to
get to
Knuckles
that.
gameplay in a bit.
We'll get to
Um,
my man soon.
Yeah, so for me, Sonic Adventure DX was my first Sonic game. Like I said, I never owned a Dreamcast. The only prior experience I had with the series was like seeing Sonic at the store maybe and playing the multiplayer split screen version of Sonic 2 at a friend's house once. And I wasn't really a fan of it then because it's just like, okay, I don't know how to play this game. I'm getting my ass kicked. I can barely see anything on the screen with the split screen. I was like, I don't know if Sonic's for me. And then I was just like randomly at Game Crazy, and I think I rented Sonic Adventure DX. I was like, this is a very interesting cover art, which is definitely a selling point. It's not as much of a selling point now as it was back then, but when you're a kid and you go into a game store, you're like, oh, nice. This looks really cool.
I forget, did the cover art have Sonic's, iconic SA1 pose?
It has like this. It's like a close up of his face, and he has like his hand out, and it's like chaos in the background. It's not the
Okay.
cool Dreamcast case. The
Okay,
Dreamcast
yeah,
is
yeah.
way better
Yeah,
for that.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was probably that was my experience, and like I've played it multiple times since then. I played that version countless times. I made like funny, well, I wouldn't call them funny now, the stupid ass dub videos that I made on my old YouTube channel with the characters, where I had my brother dub characters, and I recorded with like a
no.
tiny Nikon camera like at the TV. I fell in love with the world of Sonic, fell in love with the characters. I played the Dreamcast collection version on Xbox 360, and then most recently I played the PC port again. But for this playthrough that we did for this podcast, I played with the Dreamcast conversion mod on, so it fixes a lot of the textures that the DX
I played
version.
the same.
Yeah, the DX version, and then the PC port breaks even more. DX added some stuff, so this is kind of a best of both worlds situation. And then I also play with the DX models because I prefer those over the original, but I hate the DX like shimmering on the models, so I turned that off. So that's my personal history with Sonic Adventure. Definitely one of my favorite Sonic games, mainly just because of my history with it and how Sonic plays, which we'll get into next within the gameplay section. Because I do think Sonic is kind of stand out from the rest of the characters as far as that goes, but
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure if... Well, SA1 is for sure one of my favorite 3D Sonic games, but I am more of a 2D Sonic fan. I do much prefer the gameplay of the 2D games.
Yeah, kind of. I'm kind of in the same boat with that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
And I actually prefer the 3D. I think like
3D,
peak
yeah, okay.
3D Sonic kind of outshines 2D Sonic, but I really enjoy 2D Sonic. Specifically Sonic in 2D Sonic.
Yeah,
Well, you didn't really grow up with 2D
I didn't grow
Sonic,
up with
so.
them, no, but I did
Yeah.
play them like after Sonic Adventure. Not only did I see the Sonic Adventure 2 like advertisement in that box and got that after, but before that I played Sonic Mega Collection Plus and played them that way. I wasn't able to like finish all of them or even half of them, but I got the experience, and I still preferred, even back then I was like, but Sonic Adventure, look at him, he's in 3D.
I don't know.
and
I think
stuff like
Sonic
that.
3 and Knuckles spoiled me.
Sonic 2
Yeah.
Knuckles is great. I really enjoy that game. I do think, well, we'll get into this, I guess, but I do think
Yeah.
like that,
We'll
like
get there.
Knuckles and stuff like that. I think Knuckles has the potential to work better in 3D, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
He's
so,
really fun in 2D though, but
Yeah.
that's not the topic.
he can be. The only thing about 2D Sonic playing Knuckles that I wished happened was like if you could like maintain momentum better, like with gliding and stuff like that, and then
think
falling
Mania
down to the
fixed that
ground
a
and
little
starting
bit.
to run again. I don't
I
know
mean,
if
that'd
it
be
did.
broken. That'd be
It-
super broken.
It would, I guess it would be, but then I look at Sonic Adventure 2 and I'm like, this is way more fun for me because he can do that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, so I guess with that, shall we get into the gameplay?
yeah, we can get into the gameplay now. So we're gonna start with the Sonic gameplay, I think.
Yeah.
So
sure.
yeah, so in this game, if you guys don't know, there are 6 stories: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Gamma, Amy, and Big, and they all have separate gameplay styles. A lot of them they sort of overlap, but sort of don't. A lot of the levels do overlap, so that's a big thing that we'll get into because that's a big problem with the game. But yeah, so we're probably going to go through each of the gameplay styles individually. I'm not going to like rank them or anything like that, but I will say we'll start with Sonic because he's the star of the show, and I think that his gameplay kind of outshines the rest of the gameplay styles in this game. So
I agree with that, yeah.
yeah, so does anyone want to start with their opinions first, or?
I mean, I kind of like. It's hard for me to say whether or not I prefer Sonic Adventure 1 Sonic or Sonic Adventure 2 Sonic.
Oh, well, that's definitely a different story, I think.
Yeah. So like, like I just look at it that way, and that always like causes me to have a different opinion as far as how well I perceive Adventure Sonic. I enjoy it. Probably the most out of all the styles in the game, but that's also just because that's also the one that they kind of focused on the most.
Yeah, they
and
did.
you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
But it definitely has its pros and cons compared to its sequel. That I think it's kind of unfortunate that some of the pros didn't ever like transition over. Instead, they sort of like shifted gears more. You can definitely tell from like a visual standpoint, from like Sonic Adventure 1 to Sonic Adventure 2's Sonic, what they kind of prioritized more. And I feel like Adventure 1 kind of encompasses more of what classic Sonic was, as far as like transitioning that into a 3D space.
Yeah,
where
I agree.
you kind of had like this, oh, I can go this way, oh, I can go that way.
Yeah.
You can take a bunch of different paths, and sure, they converge at some point, but then they also diverge in multiple ways again. Whereas SA2 kind of doesn't have that as much. It does in a couple stages, but not nearly as much as like the original Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, Sonic
So,
Adventure
like,
2 does have like a good amount of branching paths in its levels, but they're not like wildly offbeat.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Radical Highway is a good example of a stage that has many different paths that you can take in certain instances, like on the Golden Gate Bridge, for example, where you really get punished for not like keeping momentum high because you drop down. And it's like you have like 4 or 5 different paths on that bridge alone that you like, for example. But Sonic Adventures, it's like a much more it lends itself to that explorative nature better, in my opinion. And it also has like acts. It also, like, Sonic Adventure 2 doesn't have acts between the levels. Sonic Adventure does, but they transition a lot smoother. They don't have to worry about... They don't put, like, Act 1 and Act 2, for example. Like in Emerald Coast, you start up, and then you go through the lighthouse or whatever, and then through the cave, and then you're in Act 2.
Yeah. They, like,
So-
discreetly do it in a way similar to Sonic 3, where,
Yeah,
like,
pretty
it transitions. But, I mean, you can tell just from, like, the opening stages in Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2, like, the differences in like, where their mindset was. Like, Sonic Adventure 1, you have a ton of branching pathways just in the very first stage, and then SA2, you kind of really don't in City Escape so much. You maybe have, like, a high and a low route in a specific segment that then just quickly comes back together. Whereas SA1, you have, like, a whole different section that you could take that brings you around and kind of might even let you cut through some portion of the stage.
Yeah, for sure. I think I know the exact part you're talking about too. If you're referring to Emerald Coast.
Yeah.
But I think you bring up a really good point about how Sonic's gameplay, there's pros and cons to how he was in Adventure 1 to Adventure 2. I feel that Adventure 2, they focused a little more on fast-paced action.
Yeah.
Where I guess Adventure 1 has a bit more of that slower-paced exploration style.
And you can see that trickle down into the other play styles as well. Sometimes to a detriment.
But I think it's interesting because we have Sonic, who is kind of a mix of pros and cons between Adventure 1 and 2. Tails is completely different in both games, and I feel Knuckles in Adventure 2 is just better.
So, but Knuckles
we'll get to him.
Yeah, Knuckles is like the big winner going from SA1 to SA2.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it was kind of hard to go wrong with what he was doing.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I agree. I wanted to get into like a few technical aspects that make Sonic so fun in this game. Which for me, obviously, like the spin dash being changed from having to hold down into in a 3D space, just hitting the B button and how fast it is. That lends itself. Like the 3D control of Sonic in Sonic Adventure specifically, the reason why I prefer it over SA2, even though Sonic in SA2 works perfectly for that game, Sonic Adventures works perfectly for Sonic Adventure. Like they really nailed it in both.
The spin dash is broken in that game.
The spin dash is
really
broken. The spin dash is broken in this game. Spin dash jumping is crazy in this game, but they knew that and they designed levels around it. Yeah, sure, not every single shortcut is like intentional, but a lot of them are. Like, obviously, there's the infamous, the Speed Highway one where you jump off the right side of the beginning of the level, and then you do a spin dash jump over to the roof, and then you just spin dash up there, and then there's a free life on both sides.
They do that in Final Egg too.
Yeah, there's instances of that like constantly in this game, so they knew that you have access to these things at all times.
Yeah, these crazy abilities.
And it allows you to do very, very cool things without the levels. Another thing is Sonic's animation in this game is probably the best in 3D that it's ever been. Between like how perfectly he transitions from a walk to a run, and he has like different animation stages in each of those. How he bobs when he's like in max speed and he throws his hands back and stuff like that is really good. He turns on a dime, like perfect 3D control compared to even things like Mario 64. His jumps are like I always see people like he feels so floaty. I'm like, yeah, but it gives you perfect air control in this game with the homing attack and the air dash and stuff like that. Because you can turn it on a dime, you always know where you're gonna land in this game. Like, I don't think, like, even as a kid, I was just like, I jumped from a platform to a platform. Like, maybe, sure, I missed it sometimes, but, like, it's always on you. Like, you can control the character in the air and on the ground so well.
That's one of the points I wanted to make, was how whenever I mess up in Sonic Adventure, maybe when I'm playing as Sonic, it really does feel like, oh yeah, that was on me. Like, it was something that happened with the game. There's one or two instances where the game can kind of screw you.
But that's namely the automated sections.
In Emerald Coast,
automated sections in Sonic Adventure.
The part where you're going through the loop, and you may just clip right through because you just did.
Yeah, you don't really have any control over that though. So that.
Yeah, but the parts where you're actually in control of Sonic, not once did I ever feel that the game it was of the game's fault or poor programming. I always felt like, yeah, I screwed up. I shouldn't have done that, and I lost a life for it.
One thing I will say is that I think the light speed dash breaks momentum in this game. The fact that you have to sit there and let it charge just to like get through certain parts of levels and stuff like that is a little silly. I know that you can spin dash jump around like most of them. Like but for the average casual player,
Yeah,
you're
that's what
gonna
I'm
do
saying.
that and you're gonna like try to test it out. And I don't want to compare to SA2 so much. I know it's inevitable, and we will do it, but like the way that Sonic Adventure 2 and like the games from here on handle the Lightspeed Dash is just way better.
Yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
was a starting point.
For sure.
Mhm.
I just
Very
wanted to
experimental.
add
Like
yeah,
that's one of the cons that I would probably say is the light speed dash, but then they kind of just were like, well, we don't really need him to charge a spin dash to do it. So
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
think the what is the one where you charge and you hit all the enemies?
oh,
The
the
light
light
speed
speed attack.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
light speed attack. As cool as it is in both games, I have way more fun just like homing attacking things when I'm actually in control when I don't have to sit there and stop and charge something in both games. But that's just me. I know it's just like a little extra thing, but I wish that I don't
actually
even
like the
want to
light
say
speed
that
attack.
like
That's
I
pretty
don't
cool.
wish it was I wish it wasn't in the game because it's not true, but because people do have fun with it. But I'm like, I just like homing attacking them and like spin dashing through them, and I keep my momentum and I'm in control of the character more. So
Mhm.
that's just my
Yeah,
opinion on that.
I just wish
I
they
wanted
gave you more of a reason to use it.
That too. They kind of like design it. It's just like, here you go, and I don't really see a point to ever use it. It's just fun sometimes, I guess.
It's kind of just there for Chaos 6, and yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, in Chaos
And the
6,
monkey.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's what it's actually for in the gameplay, right? It's just like you have to kill the monkey with it.
Yeah.
That's another thing we'll get into with the hub worlds later because that shit
Oh
is
boy,
funny.
will we?
Monkey destruction button thing.
Take out
Well,
Coconut.
we'll get to that.
Or coconuts.
We'll get to that button. But yeah, if I had to add anything was, yeah, a fun fact is that this is not the first time that Sonic has had the homing attack.
Nope.
But it's the first time
Yeah.
it's part of his core moveset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it fits beautifully in what 3D Sonic is. There's a reason why it's been a staple since this game.
Yeah.
It's just funny when people say, "Oh yeah, the homing attack originated from Sonic Adventure. It's a modern Sonic move." And it's like it's actually not. It's actually something that was from classic Sonic first, and then they just said, "Oh, this works perfectly for what we need because how do we have him jump on enemies properly in a 3D space
It
while
works
going
so well
fast?"
in 3D.
Exactly,
it was
yeah.
kind of a necessity as a power up in 3D World too. I mean 3D World, 3D Blast.
And 3D Blast.
3D World, yeah.
Yeah.
This is Mario.
Yeah, this is just Mario.
The homing attack is so good.
If I had to
love
say anything
it.
about Sonic, it's that I love how fluid he is in this game overall.
Mhm.
Just like you mentioned about his animations, which kind of adds to his fluidity.
Yeah.
You know, if you happen to just spin dash down a hill, he gains momentum. You know, as you go up the hill, he'll lose it. Stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Imagine
goes a
that.
long way.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that, bro. Who would have guessed? I would have
Imagine
guessed.
a Sonic game playing like a Sonic game.
I would have never thought. And yeah, you know, the spin dash jumps, all that. It's real fun. But yeah, Sonic, he's just fun. That's really what it comes down to. He's just a lot of fun in this game.
Yeah. I love
And
Sonic in this
There's
game.
very few problems with him. Like, I don't even have so much problems with Sonic's controls as maybe just some of his levels I like more than others. Which
What are your favorite levels? Your Sonic levels, guys?
I really like Red Mountain.
Yep.
I really like. I mean, I think Emerald Coast is a good first level.
Yep.
Windy Valley,
Memorable.
I'm fine with, but okay. I'm glad I brought up Windy Valley because there's a weird thing with Sonic's control in that game, or maybe just how the stage is. But
The
whenever
Act
you're
2
running,
in that level, Sonic's
Yeah.
control on the narrow pathways can be a little
when you're
funky.
going down a narrow pathway,
Yeah.
Sonic is like a magnet. He just keeps hitting the wall.
It's a little hard to. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day because you can kind of just like I never got stuck on the wall or anything like that. I just
Yeah,
kinda spin dash
exactly.
down it or whatever. But like, it is true that you do like, like it is a little funny. I think Windy Valley is probably like I like it, and I think it's fine, but I don't think it compares to stages like Speed Highway and Red Mountain in this game.
Oh yeah, Speed Highway. Yeah, it's another great one. I also like
Red
Final
Mountain is
Egg
good
as
just
well.
because of the amount of branching paths it has. There's so much freedom in that stage. You can continue though. Sorry.
I mean, it's fine. I guess my least favorite level would be the casino.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not even a bad level. It's just
just a boring level.
yeah, you pretty much just you fail the pinball, you go underground, you get
Yeah.
the rings you need, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually doing the pinball takes way longer than just doing that.
Yeah.
It's more traditional to do the basement anyway. I mean, it's what that's the only option Tails has.
Yeah, I mean, he just that's the only thing he can do.
The
Knuckles doesn't even go down there, I'm pretty sure.
No, yeah, the Knights thing too. If you unintentionally like activate
That
it, it takes so long. It's cool the first time you
cool,
see
but
it,
it takes really
and
long.
you can like get the different whatever they are around the.
Yeah, they like built a mini Knights game inside of Sonic Adventure.
Yeah,
I love the casino for references like that,
Yeah.
but just when replaying it, and I know all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, the stage is not as good as the other ones. It's still a fine stage. It's all right, but
I wish that there was some sort of hybrid between the casino in this game with its like how it looks and like the casino level in Heroes, where it's an actual level, like a traditional Sonic level.
can't wait to tackle Heroes again.
Yeah, that'll be after SA2 and stuff, but
Yeah. I mean, my favorite level would probably be Speed Highway, and then my least favorite would probably be the casino. Just because of the monotonous, like, oh, I don't even really play the game, I just play a pinball game. Not that the pinball game's bad, it's just, it's not what I was looking for.
Yeah, you're not really playing Sonic.
Well, if you guys ever want to skip it in the future, you can just spin dash jump through a wall and get to the Chaos Emerald.
Yo.
Yeah,
Just in your next
there are,
playthrough,
like,
you can
clipping
glitch through
things.
it. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Alright, so I think...
Yeah,
Is
we
that
can
it
move
for
on
Sonic?
to Tails. We can move on
All
to
right.
Tails.
You can start with the Tails. Juice.
Sure, I'll start with Tails. I think he's fun to play as, not because of his levels. I just think he's a fun character to play. I like his tail attack. I like his fast flight in this game.
Really fast.
He doesn't have the spin dash, but he does have a roll. Though most of the time people are going to be spamming the whatever the constant tail attack when you get it.
Yeah,
That's even
I
if
think
they get it.
Yeah, it's
it has
optional
a super cool name in
from
Japanese, though.
the flashback.
I think in Japanese it's called Tenzoku Shupu Kaiten or something like that.
Interesting.
That's like some crazy ass name in Japanese. I love it.
So his gameplay revolves around racing Sonic, which is fine, I guess. So here's here comes my problems with Tails. All of his levels, nothing is challenging. You fly from one platform to another without any challenge. The races are never a challenge at all. I get the theming of him becoming his own character and gaining confidence and stuff like that, and it kind of goes into his gameplay with racing Sonic and how the cutscenes change a little bit, they change more in the English dub actually, which is something I don't know if everyone knows. But I wish that he had more of some sort of either an explorative gameplay style, even though it's already given to Knuckles, where he can like solve puzzles or something and actually has to explore the stages, like Red Mountain, or you do more enclosed stages, like the bottom of the casino, which I think probably tackles his moveset better than any of the other stages. Like, if you have to dodge more obstacles, at least in the air or something like that, where you're flying it, so it's an actual challenge between platform to platform, and you can, like, go around it or something like that to actually show Tails' mechanics better.
Yeah.
In a way that's more engaging than just hitting a green ring that propels you forward to make it even easier between jump to jump. that would be nice. And this is, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Tales.
Yeah, I agree. I like little subtle mechanics where if you're flying and you press the B button on a GameCube controller, or I guess
It cancels.
It cancels as you fall down faster. Something that I wish was in the classic games is stuff like that. And I appreciate games like Sonic 3 Air, Angel Island Revisited, a fan-made remaster. Like, it does things like that. So I really liked that part of Tails' gameplay. Just having so much control over his flight felt really nice.
Mm-hmm.
But very similar to your complaint, just Tails' levels are way too easy.
I mean, that's just because they're Sonic levels.
Exactly. Like, they're
and
not really
that's going to be a reoccurring theme for those listening right now.
That's like kind of the big caveat that causes a lot of the other characters to not be so good, is because due to development time, they just chose not to make original stages for a lot of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't to say that they don't have them for some of them, but
of course, but it's not like, say, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where Knuckles has his own unique pathways or something like that. You know?
Yeah, they more so just said, hey, we're just going to take Tails, we're going to stick him in Sonic's levels, maybe not make them as long, and like have him do a specific section, and that's about it, and have him race Sonic.
Add some green rings.
Yeah.
Yeah, add some
just
green
to help
rings.
him go fast.
Yeah.
And he goes fast enough.
Is the first of signs of many of like bad things that ends up becoming common practice in Sonic games.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But like, I don't hate Tails as a gameplay. It's just it kind of felt almost unnecessary in a way, and you kind of get that with a lot of the other gameplay styles too. Where like it's a novelty that like wears off pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think Tails gets it worst out of
I think
that.
Because you're not even like playing the stages, you're just flying over them for the most part.
Like, at least the other gameplay styles are like, as much as like Tails is fun to play as, they're kind of like more unique, the other gameplay styles.
I mean, Tails is lacking focus in some ways.
He's a speedrunner's dream, though. You just skip the stage.
Yeah, you just skip the stage.
Yeah, speedrunning Tails is maybe not as fun as speedrunning Sonic in this game, but speedrunning Tails is kind of funny because it's just like fly, just see, like, it's just like, it feels like you're like, that's the thing. It's like the normal Tails gameplay. That's pretty much what it is for anyone who's experienced with the game. It's like you're just like, you don't care about anything.
Why? Yeah. Oh, there's enemy.
Like,
whatever.
you might as well be speedrunning it.
Yeah, that's why he's a beginner's character. He's speedrunning made easy.
I mean
that like
speedrunners
are like usually recommended to start with Tails in this game.
Yeah,
to my knowledge, unless they want to go for like specifically Sonic, which is the most probably like rewarding and fun character to speedrun in this game. But yeah, you usually want to start with Tails.
Yeah. Before we go to Knuckles, who I'll start with, I really love the funny glitch you can do with a consecutive tail slash attack, where you just kind of fly off into space if you go off a ledge at the right spot.
Yep.
Like, it's easiest to do in the area you get it. You can just go up the steps with it. You go off the side a certain way, and you'll just kind of be flying sideways. It looks really funny. I don't know if it has any practicality anywhere else, but
I've seen it. I've done it like even as a kid.
Yeah, it's like yeah, that's the other thing too. It's really easy to just come across.
Yeah. It's not like you like launch yourself super fast or anything, right? It's like the slow.
No, it just looks really goofy.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've done that.
But yeah, I think that's about it for Tails. I mean, we'll definitely talk more about him for his story. Yeah, I have a lot more to say about him there.
Okay.
But his gameplay, yeah, Tails is kind of just, he's easy mode. That's pretty much it.
Yep. So who wants to start with Knuckles? I started with Tails.
Red. I'll start with my boy.
Okay.
I'll start with Red. So Knuckles is he feels really good. Like both Sonic and Tails as well feel really fluid. Knuckles is the same way. He feels fluid. He feels very responsive. His abilities feel fine. 5 stages, I'm pretty sure he has, and they're all treasure hunting. So you go around the stages just finding pieces of the Master Emerald. The radar will bling at anyone that you're near.
Yeah, that's something that I think is a problem in this game.
Which
but
we'll get to.
Yeah.
And, as Knuckles, suppose maybe you never played Adventure 1, you just have to go on a treasure hunt.
Yep.
And so as a result, Knuckles has very enclosed kind of sandbox-esque levels. But he has a similar problem to Tails, where the levels are too easy. And they're made even easier because of the little Decal orb, the little red orb.
The spirit of Decal, yeah.
Yeah, the spirit of Decal. And she'll just show you where an emerald piece is, trivializing the whole sense of a treasure hunt.
It's so stupid.
So not only is the radar broken,
stupid,
but you also have a thing that's very easy to spot, and there's multiple on the level.
Yeah.
That will show you where each of them are, or at least the closest one to where you're at. And it's
this way.
Why? Yeah, this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, in terms of Knuckles' moves, he can roll like Tails can, jump and glide like he was able to in the classics, climb up, and he has the 3-hit punch combo.
Yep.
Knuckles, honestly, is pretty basic. I don't like how his punch combo just halts all of his momentum, which is something that Adventure 2 did way better with.
Yep.
Just playing Knuckles Adventure 2 and then going back to Adventure 1, you're kind of spoiled because he's so much better at Adventure 2.
The drill dive alone is
the
such
drill
a
dive.
huge boost in exploring the levels and keeping momentum. It makes Knuckles 3 times as fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so fun.
like landing. Okay, so what I was saying earlier about like Sonic Adventure 1, Knuckles does it too. You can glide and then it goes straight into a run in this game instead of like slowing down and stuff like that, which I really enjoy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As
you mean the classic games where you just kind of tink, just land.
And then you start going again, which is fine for the classics, I guess. But I think 3D Knuckles does have that advantage, and it's nice. But yeah, so the radar is way too powerful for the stages in this game. The only one where it's acceptable is Red Mountain, where the stage is actually big enough to the point where, like have the 3 things going at all points, and then just explore. And whichever one you find first instead of retreading old ground, like stages like Mad Space and SA2 drive me absolutely nuts. But we'll get to that, even as a speedrunner, but we'll get to that in the next podcast. Because I think that like something like an upgrade or something, where then you can see all 3 emerald pieces or something like that in the next game would have been way better. But in this game, it's like, obviously you get the spirit of Decal. It's like this way, and then like on the way, like another emerald thing. Yeah, another.
I purposefully did not use that on my replay.
Yeah.
For this, podcast. I did not use Decal at all. I just used the radar.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I did either.
And even then, it was too easy.
Yeah. It's just like. I can't use, because it's not like players aren't going to use the resources that they're given, right? So I can't be like, just don't use Decal.
And I know there are people who complain about the radar in SA2, and to a degree, I get it. Like, you don't want to be spending 6 or 7 minutes in a stage, right? But it really does. It's only really a problem when you aren't familiar with the level design. I know for a first-time player, they're obviously not going to be familiar with the level design. But I like
Sonic
it
in a nutshell.
SA2.
You play the levels more, you get to know them, and then you keep momentum that way.
Like, Sonic games are encouraged to be replayed anyway. So the more you replay those stages, and you look at the hints, which you're still able to look at all. You can look at a hint for all three and still get an A rank. I've done it.
Yeah,
still very possible.
especially in SA2 that has a ranking system that encourages you to like keep going. But we'll get into that after, because Sonic Adventure does not have a ranking system.
So, Craftus, anything you want to add on Knuckles?
I mean, I enjoyed playing Knuckles in SA1.
Oh, yeah.
Hard to say which one I actually prefer over the other, just because, like, again, they both have they're both different in like subtle ways that kind of change the experience. Where SA2's Knuckles is more closed off and more focused, whereas SA1 Knuckles, it's more just kind of you're flying around in spaces or areas that were built for Sonic, and you're kind of just moving around, navigating those places, trying to find emerald pieces hidden in them. It's hard to say which radar I prefer. I liked having the radar kind of just like pop up in SA1 just at random, kind of just be like, oh, then there might be something over here. Whereas in SA2, you might pass an emerald and not even know it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, as far as like character physics go, like I prefer running on the ground with SA1 Knuckles, but gliding in SA2 I think I like more. Same thing with like just like climbing around in SA2.
Is it because in SA1, you said you prefer the gliding in SA1, right?
No,
SA2.
No, in 2. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I like Knuckles running around feels better on the ground in SA1, just due to like the physics and mechanics of him.
Yeah.
Whereas like in SA2, you'll rarely get to top speed with Knuckles, even though he does have animations for it.
It depends on the level, because a lot of like Meteor Herd is super open on the bottom and stuff like that. I get to top speed often, but I'm also a speed runner of the game. So you get to top speed if you're gliding and then you land and you like punch or something to keep your momentum in SA2.
Yeah.
And then you're pretty much at like the amount of times I'm at top speed in the hunting stages, at least with Rouge, is very high. Like I'm in top speed a good amount of the time, but that's just because I don't know if that's fair or not. But that's kind of what the game kind of lends itself to, is replayability and trying over and over again. So I guess it does. I prefer, as much as the animation is better in Sonic Adventure 1 for like running on the ground, I prefer the fact that you can like boost your momentum really fast with the punch in SA2.
Yeah, like there are pros and cons. I just like that in SA1 as like Knuckles, you don't have to do anything special to like kind of gain top speed with your run. You can just kind of naturally do it. Whereas in SA2, like you were saying, you have to kind of do some specific things in order to like maintain top speed.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's just a personal preference.
It's also more of a thing like you'll learn the more you play the game.
Yeah.
A casual player may not be nearly as likely to reach top speed with Knuckles in SA2 as they would in SA1.
Yeah.
Like I was more likely to glide in SA2 just to get around as opposed to running.
Yeah, I did the same.
Just because it was a lot faster overall. At
It's
least,
also like the levels too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I would go to a high place, glide off of it, get somewhere. Whereas SA1, I would be able to run around and have that option. But then you could also glide around too, because that was also pretty fast. But there are just some small differences. I would probably say overall that I do kind of like playing SA1 Knuckles a little bit more.
Okay.
He's still fun.
Just given the fact that like you have such open spaces to like move around in, it's probably why I like Meteor Herd and so much, just because you have like a big open space that you can like glide around and move around in compared to the other Knuckles stages in SA2.
I see.
Yeah,
so for me, like Sonic Adventure 1 Knuckles, like you start off in a pretty enclosed area.
Yeah, and then it opens up.
And then Casino is kind of closed off too, as far as like ground movement goes. So like, I don't really know. I don't know.
I'm just thinking of stages like Red Mountain.
Red Mountain's probably
Red Mountain. But Red Mountain, you're like, at least for me, I'm gliding around like 90% of the time on that stage.
Yeah.
So
I think my favorite stages are Red Mountain and the first level, to be honest.
The first level's pretty good. I think Red Mountain is like easily his best level because of like how overpowered he is, so it automatically lends itself. Like the climbing, digging, gliding is just like Red Mountain is the stage for Knuckles, pretty much, is what it seems like to me. It's like the
He
one
breaks
that, like,
Skydeck.
I hate Skydeck. Skydeck is the worst stage that he has, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of breaks the stage given his abilities.
The fact that you have to like go back and forth to change the damn gravity of the ship, which isn't in any central point. It's like all the way back at the beginning of the ship.
Yeah.
It's like a finicky thing to even work in the first place. No. Not my. That's my least favorite Knuckles stage.
Let's see. He has Speed Highway. He has. Wait, his second stage is the casino, right?
Yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
And then it's Red Mountain, I believe.
Casino has a lot of personality. That's one thing I will add. I like that there's a giant Sonic power that you can just destroy.
You could just destroy, because that's very Knuckles.
Get that ego out of here, Sonic. Back when Sonic and Knuckles still had a rivalry.
Yeah, when
sorts.
they were rivals.
Like Red Mountain and Speed Highway are probably my two favorite Knuckles stages.
Yep.
And then there's the Lost World. Right?
Lost World, right.
Yeah, Lost World's
World
interesting.
Yeah.
Just
It's a weird one. It's very vertical. Very,
Yeah.
very vertical.
It's an interesting stage. I don't think it handles the mechanics as well as Red Mountain, but it's decent.
Yeah, it's alright.
Alright, so...
Yeah, I think that's Knuckles. One other thing I want to add about him, that he fights. He's one of the characters that fights a form of chaos that the others don't.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Which
yeah,
I think
Chaos 2.
Maybe
Chaos
we were going to get into this with the story, but all three, the main trio fights the same boss at one point.
Chaos 4 is the worst boss fight in this game. It's only ever, like, it's not even challenging, but, like, it's just tedious and waiting around. But the only one it's even remotely, like, challenging with is Sonic, because you have to, like, jump from lily pad to lily pad, I guess, even though you don't. You can just kind of jump around in the water. With the rest of the characters, you're just, like, flying around and...
Like, what is this water?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they had, like, added some type of, like, thing that made it unique for each character. Obviously, in like today's standards, they probably would have, but back then, I can see why they did what they did, and like at the time, it was acceptable. But as it hasn't really aged all that well. But I mean, that's Sonic Adventure as a whole. It's aged in certain areas better and certain areas worse. Just
when we get into
like,
the story
standard.
presentation, I think we'll get into that big time, because the story presentation of this game is...
all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really blame them, but...
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean, it was ambitious. I think the number one theme behind this game is or just like in general, ambition is this game's number one downfall, but also its number one strength. So,
yeah.
All right, so we'll get into Amy now. I'll start. I think she's actually pretty fun in this game. Amy is definitely not my least favorite character to play. She focuses more on traditional platforming, unlike the other characters, which is cool. She has a focus on keeping momentum with her Pico Hammer when it comes to having an aerial attack, which is really strong, and also her ground pound type. I don't know what the actual ability is called, but the thing where she hits the hammer when she's at a certain speed to jump up, which is always fun. That was like when I was a kid, it was like what I did all the time. I always found her like one of the most fun characters to play because of that. However, I think the puzzle solving, if you can even call it that, in the levels is really weak. Like in Hot Shelter, is that her last stage?
Yeah, I believe so.
Where
you get to drop the boxes in certain places.
Oh
it's like that's like my favorite level with her, but those are my least favorite things to do with her. Because I feel like she doesn't have too hard of a time actually like keeping momentum in the stage. With the hammer and stuff like that, and I like that, but also it's like all the stop and start stuff, like I'm gonna twist this thing now, I'm
Yeah.
going to put these boxes
She's-
in places. I have this literally RNG enter the door at the end. That is RNG.
Yeah.
You can't control that.
That's it.
Yes, it's always
Oh,
different.
Okay.
So
Her biggest problem is that she plays much more like a traditional 3D platformer character in a game that wasn't designed for that type of thing. And so they tried to like retroactively make levels that are sort of tailor-made for her, but they're not extensive enough to the point where like you really get a good feel for it. It's like a mini like Super Mario 64
I
type
was gonna say
scenario.
it almost feels like a Mario level, but without any of Mario's sick
Yeah.
abilities.
but she does
So you
have
just-
the cool jump with the hammer.
Yeah.
at least
She
to
does,
get-
so that's like okay. She has like
that's
the
like
end
your
part
only
of
thing.
Mario's triple jump, but
Yeah.
where's my
Where's the
wall
rest?
kick?
Where's the rest
Yeah.
of everything
Where's my
else?
long jump?
Yeah.
I feel like if she had a wall jump, that would have been pretty interesting.
That
It-
would have been really cool, actually.
Another problem I have with her is that she cannot accelerate fast enough.
Nope.
And
Mhm.
that
That's
kind
why
of
you have
makes
to use the hammer.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like when you are like running on the ground, for example, like that, or you like land and then you
Yeah, it just
sometimes
stinks.
you,
It's too
the
slow.
worst move in the game. This stupid thing outside of the little
Bonk.
hammer spin that she has.
Yeah.
But like when you do that, that's like such a mood killer. It's
Yeah.
like
It stops your
come
whole
on, like
momentum.
if she was just if she could just like get faster a little bit faster to the point where that wasn't that much of a problem and it still rewarded you for going fast without like super hard punishing you for not.
They
then
kind of fix it in SA2, but like she's
In
not really a main
SA2?
character.
well, in SA2 she doesn't have the
The
hammer.
hammer.
jump.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
just. But I'm talking about just her speed. She's
Oh.
slow, yeah, but she's not like SA1 slow.
Yeah,
Yep.
And then
Um,
Heroes, they're just like, oh, whatever.
Sonic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Sonic
s-
Boot with like one less ability. She doesn't have the tornado or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. A funny thing I thought was how it was really it's with every character, but I noticed it mostly with Amy. How characters in this game run faster when going upstairs. It's really weird.
It's sort of the whole same. It's like the same thing that happens in games where you go diagonal and you move faster in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Because it takes your X and your Y speeds and they add them together.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, true. That's probably what it is actually.
so it could be something like that going on.
Amy's
yeah,
whole gameplay style kind of revolves around her escaping Zero, which is a robot sent after her in the story because of a bird. But he never poses a threat at all because of Amy's like jump hammer.
He scared me as a kid.
He scared me as a
Oh, yeah.
kid. Yeah, I just
Because I was
Yeah.
like, oh shoot, he's like this big menacing robot. I actually have to avoid him. And then when I got older, I was like, I'm just gonna hit you. and
yeah,
then
you
you're
just,
gonna be
you just
he,
hit
like,
him. He's
played Resident
stunned.
Evil.
I think
Yeah.
the most memorable moment with him is like the part in Hot Shelter where you solve the puzzle of putting the colored blocks into those things, and
Yeah,
then all
and
of a
then he
sudden like all
breaks
the
out.
screens like they show Zero, and they're like, okay, that's funny, and then he like
Yeah,
crashes
he
through
breaks
the window.
out from
That
like,
scared the shit out of me as a
monitors.
kid. I was like, ah, and then continued on. But yeah, and then her boss fight with Zero is pretty much a joke since you can just kind of lock him into the electric fence.
Yeah. I mean, that's her only boss battle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. Amy is mostly pretty fun. I was a bit surprised on every play. Like, oh, she's actually not. This is pretty fun.
yeah, it's just she's too slow and the levels are too short.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
she's very inoffensive.
Reoccurring
At
theme.
worst, she's inoffensive.
Yeah.
I think a reoccurring theme with some of these characters is like the fact that there are hub worlds in this game also kind of make the characters worse to play because of the fact that you have to sit there and traverse through these hub worlds a lot slower than you would with Tails or Sonic.
Yeah.
So that's a problem, especially with Big, which we'll get to.
Oh boy, will we?
It's just a mobility issue, really. Like if they sped up if they sped up Big and Amy just a little bit, just to make them a little bit more tolerable,
Yeah.
I think that would go a long way in making playing as them a lot more enjoyable. Obviously, it could have like repercussions for the level, but
Big does have one advantage though over every character in the game.
Yeah.
He climbs ladders the fastest.
Does he? The fastest?
He does. He does. Yeah.
I was gonna say I thought you were gonna talk about how he can float in water.
I mean, that's
If you get
true,
the
too.
power up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, that's a very obscure thing. He climbs ladders the fastest. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why, but he does.
That's interesting.
Climb a ladder with Big, and you'll
Yeah,
notice it pretty quick.
his animations like him going.
Aren't like Gammas and Amy's the slowest? I know Amy's is really
I
bad.
think it might be Gammas.
I wouldn't be
It might
surprised
be
if it's Gammas.
Okay.
Speaking of,
Yeah, we'll get into
how
Gamma
about we
now.
talk about a robot friend?
So imagine if this game didn't have Sonic levels for Gamma.
Then
Then you would have his last stage, which is actually pretty decent, and then everything else that you have to play with him is very monotonous. Yeah, it's just kind of monotonous, not challenging.
Yeah.
Roll through,
So-
never a challenge with the timer.
I mean, it's fun to shoot stuff, which is
It
why
is.
they stayed,
Yeah.
which is why Tails and Eggman turned into it. But
Yeah.
I was
It
gonna
is fun
say
to
it's
shoot
very
stuff.
similar to the other 4 characters before him. Gamma himself feels fine to play. He feels fun. His movements are good. His abilities fine. The
I do
PC
have a
version though,
gripe.
whenever he goes into his wheel mode, makes him want to rip my eardrums out. But
Yeah.
good thing I don't
Besides
play the
that-
PC version, or at least I haven't yet. But maybe sometime I will.
I have a
It's
gripe
very
with
screechy.
I have a gripe with his hover because it doesn't carry either like horizontal nor vertical momentum like it does in SA2, which makes it a lot more fun in those games. In this game, it's like you jump and then you automatically like stop and then start hovering.
Yeah.
see,
I mean,
you have
that's where they got it
bias.
from.
That's
so.
what it is.
Huh?
I said you have pause hover bias. That's what it is.
Even without pause hovering.
I know.
Like it's just like I go from like SA2 to playing this game and then I like go for the hover. I'm just like this is a lot less fun, but
That's
it's
because
still
you're playing
fine.
what was improved on already.
Yeah,
they already
I
saw
know
what was
that.
bad.
I know that. I know. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. I don't think it's fair to judge it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying in general. I wish that he it did carry momentum because I think
Oh,
it would
yeah.
make the
Which they
mechanic
did
a lot
what
more
they
fun.
would eventually do earlier.
Yes, I really wish because I think other than that, it's pretty fun, like to
Yeah.
play as the character. So, I think obviously this is the obvious one if his levels were more suited towards him. Because like you kind of just shoot stuff and it's never ever a challenge as far as the timer goes, except maybe the last level, Hot Shelter with his own section with the trains.
Yeah,
Which he
that's
has.
just because of how long you're stuck there. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that's really because of the fact that like the game, like his gameplay in itself is hard. It's just they actually designed a level that was meant to like cause you to manage time.
Exactly. That's what I mean though. Like that makes it a little bit more fun and engaging for me because I actually have to, at least as a kid, I think I
Yeah.
died on that stage a few times.
Like the only thing that you could maybe do in the earlier levels is reduce the enemy count. And
Yeah.
then, or like shrink the timer so much to where like every shot might matter more.
Yeah, if they shrunk the
then-
timer, that would have been kind of cool.
But then you run the risk of like new players when they get to Gamma potentially just struggling.
Well,
like,
you
it's
have
a-
to
it's a
have
give
a
and take.
Time to
difficulty
get
curve.
good.
You have to have
Yeah.
a difficulty curve, like
Yeah. His
Windy
difficulty
Valley.
curve is probably
Like,
the worst balance, just because it goes super easy, and then you get to like the last stage, and it's like, oh shoot, now I'm actually dying.
yeah.
So,
Which, speaking of super easy, his
we
boss
can talk about
fights-
his boss fights. Yeah, his boss
His
fights
boss
are
fights
literally
are-
just spam the B button. That's it. You don't have to do anything.
it's just bad versions of himself that you're fighting
Yeah.
until you get to the last final boss. But even
Yeah,
then,
his
it's part
final
of the
boss is
same-
cool.
I also like what is it? The purple one. I can't remember its name.
Zeta.
Zeta?
Is,
Yeah.
Is it Zeta?
Because the last one is Beta, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Beta, his brother. Beta.
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 Yeah, I like the final beta boss. It's very cinematic, and you can't just mash the B button to win it.
Yeah.
So, holy crap! I actually have to play the video game.
Yeah, you have to actually dodge things. That was like one of the only things that were actually designed for him, and it shows what could have been if
So that's
more of his
a
boss
fun
fights were
boss.
unique, where you actually have to dodge things. It's like a waiting game, but it's like an active waiting game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when he turns after using his dash attack is when you can shoot him, do the damage that way. That's also the boss fight that you're most interested in because of the story. It starts with Beta. You see Beta in the middle of the story, like upgrading himself due to like, I don't know if it's his own ego where he upgrades himself or if it's Eggman who does it, but either way, it's at least intriguing to the player, and then you end with it, and it's really cool. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else on Gamma before we go on to the mistake?
Just let me check my notes real quick. I haven't done that at all. but,
The mistake. Oh no.
No, I mean, just besides that, yeah, Gamma, he's fun, he's responsive. Yeah, he still has all the good control that the other characters have. That's pretty much it, really. He's a good, fun character, but the stages outside the last one really weren't built for him.
They weren't. It's so just float from one platform to another or whatever.
I
think
will
the
say that
Cave
I
of Red
prefer-
Mountain is okay.
I will say that I prefer controlling him kind of a little bit more than controlling the mechs in SA2, just because of how his turning feels better.
Yeah.
His turning
I
is
agree with
better,
that.
but it has the detriment of having to move your whole body to aim at enemies. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
never
one- that's
that
one
doesn't
of
even
the-
matter in SA1. But
Yeah.
yeah. SA2
I'd be real
mechs, like once
curious
you
of
master
how-
the movement, can be
If you-
good, but it's really clunky unless you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm real curious if you were to take Gamma's exact play style from SA1 and put him in Adventure 2, how that would work.
People have modded that, where
Really?
they just add the physics of Gamma into.
Well, I meant being able the way he turns and everything.
Yeah, I think that's included in that. I know what you're saying, because when you're turning with the SA2 mechs, it's like the head turns, but the body's like. Unless you do like specific 180-degree turns immediately on the analog stick. Or the exact curve that you have to do to get around certain things, which comes
I
from
understand
replaying
why
the
the
levels.
mechs in I understand why the mechs in SA2 are made the way they are, but
Yeah.
I just kind of prefer Gamma's stages are also a little bit more much more open than they are in SA2. But that's just the whole game in general.
Yeah, that's a problem with him in this game though, because I mean maybe that's not the problem in itself, but the fact that they're so open and it's not a challenge and you just I don't know.
Yeah, but again, that's just has more so to do just with enemy quantity and then the timer. I feel like if they had just balanced that more, the open space could have been used in a more creative way to be so you're not strapped for oh, I can't find an enemy over here, I gotta go over here now.
Yeah.
They could have done interesting things with it and
I think
maybe
they
allowed
should've-
for branching paths.
Yeah. I think they should have also just edited the levels a bit so they fit more for him in general. I don't think the open space itself is the problem. It's just the fact that it's literally, other than one different path in Windy Valley that you take.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just not built for him. But okay, we'll get into the mistake now.
On to the most powerful character in the whole universe. Big the Cat. He's
The
big.
pace breaker.
He is big.
This character should not have been an essential thing that you
He
have
should
to
have been a
do.
mini game.
Yeah, if he was a minigame, then I would have no problem with his inclusion, where they still show off the power of the Dreamcast and different gameplay styles, which is why he's here.
He could have been a mini game within every where you have one of his levels in each of the characters' campaigns,
I
And you
wouldn't
have to-
liked that either. I don't think it should have been necessary. Like, I think it should have
Well,
been.
I mean, like
Like an
if-
optional mini game.
yeah, like an optional
Oh, I
mini
see,
game that you
I
can
see.
do in each of the characters' campaigns to play as Big.
Okay.
And maybe he has a fishing hole you can visit.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, in certain levels he's in different locations and you can visit
And then-
him there.
Yeah, and play as him and do whatever there.
I actually like that idea.
Because then you not only keep him relevant in the story to some degree, but you also give that you don't axe him from the game, and like the things that he don't like just magically just don't happen. But now you make it so that way it's not like a drag to play through, because like, oh, I have to do this. It's like, oh, you can if you want to.
Yeah.
If you want more context for why
I think that would be good
there.
because Big as a character, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
You know, I like Big. You know, he's this goofy big cat. He's fine as a character, but his gameplay is.
They added a lot of detail to
There.
his levels. Ice Cap.
Yeah.
They did. They really
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
I will give the levels that there's a lot. Like in the ice cap zone as well, you go to these places that you don't really see with Sonic at all.
Yeah.
It's almost like you get the power up there, which is like the extra bait or whatever in
Yeah.
Ice Cap. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the only stage in the entire game where you get an upgrade at all without any of the, like, throughout every single character.
Wait, where? Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. Where do you get the float?
I thought it was in Ice Cap.
No. Oh, maybe it's that, and not the bait. But I
Because
thought
the water,
float...
you need that in order to like go underneath in the water, and then to rise back up to a different section. I'm pretty sure.
No, there are springs.
I thought the spring sends you into. Well, I know I'm pretty sure the float is in Ice Cap.
It could be. I thought it was in
Oh,
the
I think
overworld.
it's before ice cap because it's before the stage actually because there's like that gap of water you need to cross.
Oh yeah, and you
climb
can't.
ladder.
You can't because he's too big,
Yeah.
so he sinks.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but there is another upgrade in Ice Cap. I think it's a bait one or something.
Yeah.
I think
And
you're right. Yeah.
It's like the only thing that pisses me off about that stage is the fact that it's cool and it's detailed and you can explore over there, but the fact that the Froggy is literally in the first area of that stage and it's like you don't know and then you travel the whole thing and like I remember playing through it recently and I think you guys were with me. I was like
On stream, yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god."
And getting Froggy can be so annoying in the first two stages when you
The
don't
first
have...
one specifically is annoying to me.
float,
I don't know
yeah.
why. I don't know why. I always
Once you
struggle
get
with
the
that
float
one.
device, his stages are so much easier.
Yeah, because you just go in the water and just float where Froggy is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's the Eggman base one? In...
Oh, the one where you're in there's like a middle platform and then you have a bunch, like the ring of water
Yeah.
around you. That one can be annoying.
That one I think is pretty cool because it let you you have other places to explore, right? Or were those I think you do. And I thought
Are you
that was
sure?
pretty neat.
I'm pretty sure
Unless-
you're just in that room.
I know that that's where Froggy is, but I think you can explore through this little cave to go fish for more stuff. I could be unless that
I
got
think
cut.
so. I'm thinking unless you're thinking about Emerald Coast.
No, Emerald Coast, I know that one's my favorite stage because of how easy it is and how fast it is.
Something that
Maybe there is. I haven't played Big in a while, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something that was always funny to me though with Big is how he just destroys robots with his fishing pole.
Yeah.
I think that's really funny.
He does that in Heroes too.
Like
Yep.
like Heroes
What
Big
is
is
that fishing
basically
pole
the
made out
way.
of?
I have no idea.
It's made out of antimancium or something.
The way Big was handled in Heroes is the way they could have handled him in Adventure if they actually want to make him a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big worked in Heroes pretty well.
Okay,
But-
Really
so
good belly flop.
do we have anything else to add to gameplay?
Yeah, well, not for Big.
Yeah, not for Big.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, we've kind of covered everything.
Okay. Yeah.
Big is
So,
literally just why wasn't this a minigame?
Before
Yeah.
we move on to story, which will take a tiny bit of an intermission so we can go to the bathroom and stuff before. or get water if you need to refill. What do you guys think about? Should we cover like the upgrade system in the hub worlds now, or should we do that like when we tackle the individual stories?
I think they go hand in hand with the stories, honestly.
Yeah, you think so? All right.
Just because like you're gonna be talking about, because like the upgrades kind of like help you progress through the story in a way. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, so we'll cut to a little bit of an intermission now. Refill your waters, stretch, go to the bathroom if you need to, and we will be back.
and how like that's gonna be a thing for some of the characters. That's gonna be really cool.
I love what he did with Silver though.
Yeah.
What he did with Silver.
Oh, we're talking about PO6 now.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, dude. It's too good. It's too powerful.
I forgot if you've even played it.
I
He
played
played,
the
like, the first demo.
original demo, so I haven't gotten.
Yikes!
I wanted to wait.
So much better, right?
I know. I wanted to wait until Shadow actually finally comes out, but I know he's like doing a bunch of random things. So, but anyway,
he's working
Shadow's done. He's just a bunch of other stuff that he's doing right now before he releases the next demo.
Yeah, Shadow in the most recent demo, Shadow's not in it. That's
no.
Okay, so anyway, before we get into 06, which is a few videos out, I think.
Yeah, I think when we do get to 06 though, we should give a shout out to people.
Yeah, we will.
Because it's definitely deserving. But yeah, all right.
Get
so
him on
back
the podcast.
You know what? I probably might. Why not?
He'd be the person to talk about.
You know what? That would be great if we could get him on here. But yeah, so the story of Sonic Adventure.
Yeah. So there are 2 stories. Well, there are 7 stories that go on in this game at once. Some of them are pretty inconsequential. One of them is an overarching story that we'll definitely touch on as we go through the stories and end with it, because the overarching story on paper is really cool on paper. But I guess we'll start in the same way that we did the individual gameplay segments. Is I'm not gonna cover like everything in a story and go through it all, because we'll be here all day. But I think going over like whatever themes the character's story is trying to say and like how it covers that might be a good way to tackle this. So if we want to start with Sonic, it's really hard to say what his theme is because it's Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it's mainly just like what has always been, and like the sense of freedom of playing as the character himself, and his
Sonic himself, like his character kind of revolves around being free as well.
What would you say, Craftus? Like, how do you think Sonic is in this game as a character, and what do you think his like theme is?
Like it's. I mean, I think you guys kind of already summed it up, since it's hard because like that was the first time they were actually tackling like bigger things as far as like the character goes, where they were definitely trying to take the way that they view him, the way that they want others to like look at him from like the classic games, and then they kind of just want to expand it. So giving that sense of freedom and like just being able to move around however you want, both like through a gameplay perspective and like also just in the story with how he's just like traveling around everywhere and then he just appears in a city. They wanted to give that sense that he's just kind of like this free spirit that moves around wherever he wants, and isn't really tied down. And I think for the most part, it kind of accomplishes that as far as like setting things up go.
It's how he acts
and then,
in the story.
As well as like
Amy
perceiving his
down.
like them personifying his like cockiness. Not necessarily his arrogance, because like I wouldn't really call Sonic like an arrogant character per se. But
no.
at least not
this
entirely.
Is in the comics.
I
said this is in the comics. I think he's a little arrogant in the comics a bit, but
like
but that's more
IDW.
But that's more so like him towards like Eggman.
Yeah.
Since he's beaten him so many times, so it's just like, well, it's not big of a deal.
Or when he's like super tired in the metal virus, he's kind of just being an arrogant dick.
Fun arc, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean that's like I can't really blame him in that moment, because it's like he's fending off a virus that if he falls, it's kind of like the end of everything for everybody.
Yeah.
But like in Sonic Adventure, I feel like they nail like personifying his personality in a way that they hadn't done up until that point. Besides just like maybe some advertisements and some small little like animated commercials.
Yeah. And I like his
So-
dialogue in this game. He knows he cracks jokes a lot and stuff like that, but it never
Yeah,
like
it's not-
takes the front seat.
Yeah, he hasn't crossed the line with it. It's more so it's like the wisecrack jokes that you get every like now and then that are thrown out there just to kind of like keep the mood in check.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I enjoyed Sonic's story for the most part.
Yeah,
SA1.
Sonic's story itself is very
It's
simple.
very simple and straightforward.
Yeah, it's just that Sonic's the hero, Eggman's the baddie. Just gonna do the hero versus baddie thing, and it works.
Yeah.
Simple.
It meets Chaos Zero. Get over here. Where you going, you big drip?
Where are you going? Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Sonic's story in this game is basically just the better executed version of what they end up doing in 06. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god.
06 Sonic's story is just kind of not
You don't
really
even need it.
important. It's
No.
not important to the story. Whereas at least his in this game it is, because actual plot points are brought up. Obviously they're expanded upon in other characters' stories a little bit more, and you
Yep.
kind of take those and throw it into his, and you kind of get a bigger picture that is then eventually the conclusion kind of brings it all full circle. But it's nice that like his story is kind of like the one that's the front and center, whereas like something again in like 06 it doesn't really feel that way, even though it is.
Or it's supposed to be.
Yeah, or it's supposed to be, but like it never really feels like it.
But really, it's like Shadow.
Yeah, it's like Shadow and a little bit of Silver adding in there that are like
Mhm.
front and center. So then,
Absolutely.
so
But yeah, Sonic, story-wise, he's very simple. It's very easy to follow. I like his interactions with the other characters. The theme, like his story doesn't seem like it has a theme. Just more so the theme is of Sonic's character himself, which is
Yeah.
has always been about freedom.
Yeah.
How he always looks forward to. He never lets himself just sit down and be in a funk or anything like that. He's always going for the next adventure. That's just how Sonic is.
Yeah.
I think that story shows this perfectly.
And there are times where, like Sonic, I think he gets the most flashbacks. It's either Sonic or Knuckles to the overarching plot, which is just to call frantically trying to tell everyone, like, hey, this happened. But every single character is just like, huh? Like every time they it's like they don't like retain anything at all from anything that happened. The call is kind of just like,
Like me on a
here,
Sunday
here,
night.
here. This is happening. This is happening. The most egregious of that would be Knuckles' story, which we'll get into.
Yep.
But
So before we get on to Red, shall we get on to
yeah, we'll get to Tails now, which
our
is
sidekick?
yep. So this in Sonic Adventure 2 is where Tails is probably the best written, in my
Yeah.
opinion. From this game heavily builds upon the classics, and
Yeah.
Tails is always Sonic's sidekick. And his story is basically we already went into the gameplay of him and Sonic like racing and stuff like that, and him proving his worth. He has cutscenes, however, not like presented very well because they used like, what is it? The Mystic Ruins of like Tails like slowly chasing Sonic as like,
Oh, yeah.
like I always could catch up with you and like this whatever it was exactly.
Isn't that supposed to be when they first met?
Yeah.
yeah,
Pretty
I mean
sure it
obviously
is.
that like they didn't make
Yeah.
like original assets to show off
Yeah.
like where they were at in
Yeah,
Emerald
it's just
Hill.
really funny whenever I go back and I watch. I'm like, what is happening?
Like,
Yeah,
his-
that was totally Sonic 2.
his story is just basically a coming of age story.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
About
That-
independence and being confident.
yeah,
yeah.
it's confidence in coming to age and
it's-
like doing things himself when he needs to.
Yeah.
Obviously, which all comes to a head at the end of his story when he has to race Eggman, and then Eggman like had a missile going. And then if that missile failed or whatever, then he has this giant mech that you then have to fight as Tails, and you're just like, well,
Yeah.
I guess I'll do this now because Sonic's like relying on me, and I need to do it myself, and I'm strong enough. And then he does it, and it feels good, and he's rewarded with the Chaos Emerald or whatever.
Yeah. It definitely sets the groundwork for his character going forward, which is eventually then undone, unfortunately.
Yeah, it sets the groundwork for SA2's Tails. But then after that, they kind of threw away most of what came before. So.
I mean, I would say him in Heroes isn't too bad.
It's not. It's not too bad. It just doesn't go. It doesn't exactly build on top of.
Yeah,
like
he kind of just stays
did.
where he was at in a way.
Mhm.
I would say him in 06 is a little bit more like how you would expect him to be after Sonic Adventure 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where he's a little bit more resourceful.
It's
Maybe not
Hedgehog.
as important, but
Shadow the Hedgehog too. He's not important at all, but he's at least competent.
yeah.
Like when you meet
I
him.
think it's Unleashed where stuff started to go downhill with him.
Yeah, like you can see hints of SA2 Tails in Unleashed, but like it's still a little weird when he's like scared by a horde of monsters. I mean, he's also like still young, so
Yeah.
I can't like super fault him, but then Sonic Forces kind of throws everything out the window.
Let's not talk about that again.
We'll eventually get to that.
I don't want to replay it. Get someone else.
But yeah, Tails' story is really good,
Yeah,
especially
it
as
is.
like a supplement to Sonic's, since
Yeah.
you get such a different take, a shift in tone, while still giving you like extra bits and pieces, like how they sprinkle Tikal throughout everybody's stories in
Yeah.
different ways, which is pretty cool.
I definitely feel we can go even more in depth with all these stories. But at the same time, how long exactly should we keep going on? And
Yeah,
on and
No, I
like,
think the
we
pace
could
that
go
we're
on-
going on. I think the pace that we're going on is fine. But just so you guys know, we've been going for an hour and a half, so we don't have to
Yeah.
go into more detail into these stories. This is pretty much what I was expecting.
Like,
So
yeah, so
'Cause we could be here all day talking about story alone. So
Man.
yeah.
it just sucks
Yeah.
that they hid a power up in one of the cutscene events for Tails. I remember, I think it was like my first playthrough. I didn't get the tail attack upgrade because
Oh,
I
you
didn't know
didn't?
it was there.
I
No,
did
not
'cause I
during, like,
didn't
my
know where to
very
go.
I
first.
in
thought
that
you
thing.
had to get it to proceed.
Mm-mm.
No,
You can skip it.
don't. I got
Really?
it as a kid because I didn't know where the hell to go, so I just like explored the
Flew
entire
around.
ancient Echidna thing, and then I saw that I was like, oh, okay, and I eventually found the NPC I was supposed to talk to, or
My
whatever.
second playthrough, I did get it though, but the first one I didn't. My very very first one I ever did know. I'm pretty sure I don't remember
Okay.
getting it. I think I just went to like around the building, and then found Tikal by mistake, or whoever it
Gotcha.
was.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't like that about the cutscenes like that, where you just like randomly have to find someone or go to some random location where you have no idea
Yeah.
where you're supposed to go
Yeah.
in order to proceed.
For its
the
time,
story.
it was pretty cool. To
Yeah, it
like,
was fine for
oh,
its time.
there's there's like this interesting cutscene and a place that I've never been in that isn't
Yeah.
accessible.
a
in
new
the,
hub
like,
world
normal,
location.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I like the fact that the hub worlds do implement themselves into the story of this game.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's so many things that this game could like do so well if it was remade that it's kind of scary to like imagine what they might do, because there's so many right ways to do it that they could just get it so wrong.
yeah,
I hear that.
So
Yeah, Sonic about freedom, Tails confidence in independence. I think those are the themes that goes
Yeah, coming
with
to
those two
age.
characters.
Knuckles. I have a problem with his story in this game because as much as it's nice to like learn about his past and stuff like that, and you get more lore of like Angel Island and
Delicious
the Master
lore.
Emerald. And
he doesn't
stuff.
really do anything for his character, honestly.
Yeah, this
Not,
game,
like,
like
a
he
ton.
literally like here's the thing. I originally I was like, oh, this his theme is like about his heritage. You know, like in like when he goes to the cutscenes, what he says basically at the end of one of them of the flashbacks, he's like, was that a dream? More like a nightmare, or something stupid like that. And at the end of the game, he chooses not to dive deeper into his heritage and his history. He's just like, okay,
I think he's
I'm
just kind of
ignoring
moved
this.
past it.
Yeah, he's just
in
like,
a
I
way.
don't care. I'm just gonna do what I've always done, and that's it. Like,
Guardian
Yeah.
Master Emerald.
it's
mean,
not
it-
until
like-
SA2 where he actually like. It turns out, oh, he did like learn a little bit more because he knew
The
the
chant.
Master Emerald, the Master Emerald chants and stuff like that. But like in SA1, he kind of just says no, and he like ignores everything. So it's not a true
Right.
character arc, in my opinion.
I suppose, in a way, though, it shows that how hyper-focused Knuckles is on his goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, his purpose, if you will, is to, protect the Master Emerald, which is, especially when the series cared about it, was a very important gem. It was a very
Yep.
important part of the universe. How powerful the Master Emerald was, and still is, if they ever make it relevant again.
yep,
So you can view it as, which I think it's pretty accurate. Like, he's very hyper focused on his goal. So maybe that's why he comes off as not really caring about this past stuff, or he
Yeah.
thinks about it briefly because that's not his mission.
Yeah, like
yeah.
they,
But
they,
it
they
has so
definitely
much
tried
to
keep
do with
him.
him that it's
Yeah.
really weird. That,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's
the
kinda
big
jarring.
problem is they try to keep him too much in character to how he was in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, where he's very laser focused on protecting the Master Emerald almost to like a fault as a character, and like that happened. You see it in the story where like how he gets tricked by Eggman.
Yeah, he's gullible,
Mhm.
which I think this is like the last
it's
big
the last
notable
time
time,
he gets
right?
He gets
Yeah, it's-
tricked. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is, we see more of that later, but I suppose you can also attribute that
That's
to
character
a
development. He doesn't get
Yeah.
he doesn't get tricked again.
Yeah,
If he got tricked,
he's less hard-headed.
He
Yeah.
would be such a meme if he was just like a stupid like he just gets tricked by Eggman every single time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I would hate if they did that to him, man.
I would
I'm glad they
hate
have in any other form of media ever.
it. But yeah, so that's Knuckles. I don't really have much to add other than that.
Like,
I don't mind his story.
yeah, I like it.
It's simple,
his
but
story.
it doesn't really add anything to his character. But at the same time, I would say that he, at the time, was probably one of the more like fleshed out characters prior to a Sonic Adventure, just because you got all this backstory about him just from playing Sonic 3 and Knuckles,
Yeah.
with like the mural and being in Hidden Palace and him being in like the guardian of it all and whatnot. So you kind of had an idea of who Knuckles was.
He had a nice fleshed out backstory by that point.
So the other characters definitely deserved it more than he did. It just kind of stinks that like they don't really draw the connection between how he learns some of the things he does going from Sonic Adventure 1 to 2. I think it's more so just like a nice little nod
Yeah,
in SA2 to like, oh hey, he did actually some of the stuff that happened in the previous game. He knows about it now. We don't know how, but
Yeah.
he knows about it.
Yeah.
But
It
I think-
builds upon itself enough to matter.
for sure. I think Knuckles does have development in this game. It's just subtle.
yeah,
It's not
like
super
so subtle to the
out
point where
there.
it's not like, yeah, it's not in your face out there.
It's definitely noticeable, but it's still subtle.
And this is
I-
one
I
of the
don't
things
think
they
that's
like.
there,
like
but it's
outside
not like the
of
main-
like getting tricked by Eggman and like maybe respecting Sonic a little bit more at the end, it's kind of hard for me to say it like in this game alone because unless you take him not saying what he's saying completely seriously at the end, like he's bluffing to himself or he's like thinking about it, and you take it at face value, then it really is just like I don't want to learn more about what happened. Like,
I think
but
it's
then
more
if you
so he wants to stay
contextualize
laser
it,
focused.
yeah, but then
Yeah,
it,
that's what I think.
and then if you contextualize it in like SA, but then it's just like he didn't really change much. But then you contextualize it in like SA2 and SA1, and you're like, okay, he did develop.
Because like his whole thing in SA1 was he had to find the Master Emerald, so he was just like laser focused on that. So other
Yeah.
things that were happening, sure, they might be interesting, but he kind of has to stay focused on repairing the Master Emerald to keep Angel Island from, fixing Angel Island again,
Yeah.
essentially.
And while maybe not a new development for him, I think it still definitely speaks of his character.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard. Because I feel like if they did a remake, they could probably dive more into like that aspect of Knuckles, like dealing with his
Absolutely.
heritage, and like accepting what's going on around him more, on top of having to deal with the Master Emerald problem that he kind of has.
Or if they could
So,
like
like,
present it in a way where he was actually absorbing the information
Yeah.
and like was just like telling himself to like stay focused and that he wasn't interested, but like the audience could clearly see that he is more intrigued. It's kind of like a presentation problem.
Like
I think
even having
another-
like
Yeah, no,
During-
you go. I'm sorry. You go.
like even if like when you're traveling the past, if like maybe there was something that you were doing in the past to like talk to more people, and him kind of like taking in the fact that, oh, this is what it was actually like back then.
Yeah.
Something even as subtle as that, just to kind of
Right.
like make it seem like, wow, this is
Yeah.
kind of like he's never seen this before, or
Yeah,
if
because-
he did, it was very briefly when he was like very, very young.
Yeah, because like like his whole start, I don't know why I'm here, blah blah blah, like gets all this interesting stuff about his backstory. Was that a dream? More like a nightmare.
I mean, I feel like that might be just like the English translation.
It is, but it's really funny. I mean, I don't know
It's
exactly what
funny,
he says
yeah.
in the Japanese there, but
I think it'd be worth looking into, for sure.
Especially because of the way Sega of America was trying to present Sonic back in the day. I feel like that's something they would have done, where things got taken out of context and changed just to market it better to a Western audience.
there is, for those listening, there is a Sonic Adventure 1 retranslated mod that you can get for the PC version, so if you do play through it, then I highly recommend using that. Same with SA2 when we get into it.
I may do that.
Yeah.
Before we go on to Amy, if I had to add anything else to Knuckles, now that I think about it, I do think it was a bit weird how Knuckles is supposed to be the last of his kind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they
But
never.
then- Not only do they never explain the whole thing, but when he sees other echidna like him,
Yeah.
The thing is, they
Knuckles
dive into
just
it
kind
more.
of doesn't react to it at all.
Yeah. Presentation
They go
is not there.
they go more into it in Sonic Chronicles, which is kind of funny. But
Oh, yeah.
That is true, but it's Sonic Chronicles.
yeah, like that's the only caveat, like boon of Sonic Chronicles is, oh, you actually get to dive more into the Echidna tribe, and Knuckles actually gets to like
Which
emote about the
yeah.
whole thing.
I really like, because I think that's a really interesting part of Sonic lore. is the
I just
whole-
wish the game wasn't the way it was.
Yeah, but overall, I think Knuckles, I think it establishes who he is well enough. His development it's there, but it's subtle.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Okay.
could be
So,
better, but it's.
I guess
it's
Sonic's
not
favorite
fast.
fangirl next.
Yeah,
Amy Rose is probably my...
Her story's interesting.
I don't know. It's not my favorite, but it's probably my second favorite. It's like tied between her and Tails for my second favorite. First being Gamma, which we'll get into, but Amy's is probably up there for me because it goes into her ability to speak the good into people's hearts with Gamma, which
Yeah.
is part of his story as well. And this is a character trait that she will consistently have. She's very bold in her approaches. I like that she's just like protecting the birds. I like that she has like the gall to go up
Yeah.
to Sonic and be like, "Hey, can you protect this bird?" And like Sonic's just like, "What? I got shit to do, bro."
Yeah. They definitely tried to like make her not seem like the damsel in distress that she was seen to be in Sonic CD,
Yeah.
while also still
Yeah.
like encompassing her like dotting character traits that she kind of exhibited in CD, where she follows Sonic around. So they kind of just took what people already knew about her in the classic games, and then kind of just added layers on top of it, and then
Exactly.
you get what we ended up with Amy, and then they kind of run with that for
And it comes to
as her like character traits.
comes to fruition at the end too, when she actually fights Zero.
Yeah, she like
Zero,
gains the
like-
resolve to like actually take action in a more
Because
serious
doesn't
manner.
Zero steal one of the birds or like hit the bird or something? I can't
Something like
remember
that.
exactly what happens before, but she just gets pissed. She's like, "All right, you're
Yeah.
done now. I'm done running from you."
I think a theme with Amy is, or themes with Amy is, well, one, she wants to be useful. I think that's kind of something her and Tails shared at a point where, they want to prove themselves.
Yeah, not relying on Sonic.
Yeah, not always relying on Sonic, but
And they have
Tails,
individual strengths, and they show here in this game.
yeah. And Amy, though, unlike Tails, she has this elements of, searching into the good of people, which we see again in SA2,
Yeah.
and this feeling of togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
Which
I mean, she prevents Sonic and Gamma from fighting, like from killing each other. Well, she just has the balls to go up to Sonic and be like, "Stop! This robot's a friend." Basically, that's why you should stop, and that's it. And then okay, like that's enough for Sonic because he trusts her enough.
Yeah,
he trusts that that's one of her character strengths, which is very important to the story of the game and the next game.
Pays through even more in the sequel.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
I think Amy is pretty. Well, I mean, one, like her story is now we're getting to like the shorter story.
Yeah.
Her story is only 3 stages, where Tails and Knuckles were 5, Sonic's was like
9,
10, right?
I think it's 9.
Yeah, I mean, her story is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's mainly just that element of togetherness, of almost like family with the birds and all that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best stories because it's so coherent compared to some of the
coherent.
others.
And it ties well into the next character, Gamma.
Yeah, my boy.
Fun and interesting character.
I think Gamma might have the best story in the game.
Probably just because like it's also like an original story that actually like tells something rather than just being like what we end up with big.
Yeah. Even Gamma gets cutscenes of the past too, right?
Yeah, of like
Every
when he
character
was
does, I'm pretty
when
sure.
he was
I wish
made.
that
Oh,
paid
you're talking
off.
about like Tikal.
Yeah, the Decal ones, which I wish paid off in the last story.
Well, but they pay off like a little bit because like you understand who she is and like what her motives were, and you kind of get like the conclusion to it all or the climax of her like past.
Yeah. By the way, for those of you who don't know, we're saying she because of the pink bird that is actually Gamma, which that's how it's going.
Because Robotnik sure loves to fuel his bagnicks with animals.
Here's another thing. It really gives context and makes you like want to kill more enemies. At least in my opinion, because it gives you more of a reason to like free these sentient beings from these machines, which really comes to a head in Gamma's story. She's like, oh wow, yeah, this is like a full sentient being and just wants to be free, and then that has its whole family story. Pretty good. I'd say that this story's theme is a lot of it is it ties more into the opening of the heart overarching story plot that happens in this game.
Will.
Yeah,
and free will. Free will is the big obvious one. So yeah.
Because what I always liked about this series in general was how you have these robots, but a lot of them that, ironically enough, Eggman makes that develop this sentience, like Gamma, like Omega, like Metal Sonic as well. Even though he's very loyal to Eggman, he's still like a sentient being of his own, despite being a robot.
Yeah.
Something I just like about this series in general, how it does robots.
Yeah, it's very interesting take. I want to say it's like similar to how Mega Man handled it, but it also has its fair share of differences. Which is why I'm still waiting for a crossover game, but
at least we got the comic.
Yeah, but that can only do so much for me.
You want to play it.
I need an actual game.
Understandable.
It would be pretty cool.
So with Gamma, it turns out that the the family of birds that Amy has, the last family member is actually Gamma the entire time, which is probably what set off the sentience in Gamma in the first place.
Potentially, yeah.
And then he decides to free his... Because of this, he's like, okay, I'm going to free my brothers and sisters, and that's kind of his storyline. I'm going to free them, beat the shit out of them, free the birds.
It's a very interesting story dynamic to go for, where like you kind of gain that connection between like rescuing all the flickies and whatnot that you're used to from the classic games, and now they're in like you actually get to play as a character who's being controlled by essentially one of these things, and it all kind of comes full circle when the character ends up making some sacrifice to like free the last bird by also like ending himself in a way.
Well, Beta shoots him.
Yeah,
and he's like, so those
Gamma.
are the three birds right there, you know.
Yeah.
Beta, Gamma, and the other one.
The one,
the family
that Amy has.
Yeah. And Beta is another interesting and intriguing story element in Gamma's story because he has an ego of his own. I don't know if it's ever like really.
They don't dive
us
into it.
That like he repairs himself in that room, but it's really, I really like the cutscene where Gamma like goes into the room and he sees Beta repairing himself, and then
I thought Eggman was just upgrading him.
It's possible, but
I always interpreted it that he was doing it himself.
It's probably like a mix of both or something. I don't really exactly know, but then like you see how disturbed Gamma is.
Yeah,
like when he leaves the room
on the floor.
Yeah, and like he's like and like the music of that cutscene's really good too. And then like he like backs up from the door and stuff like that. It's just like wrong room, and then goes to another one. Yeah.
I think Sonic X kind of gives like his story a little bit more context than they do in the games. Obviously, because it's a show, so they're able to dive more deeper into that connection. But it definitely is a very interesting supplement material to like use when thinking about his story. Just because of the fact, like the connection between him and Gamma. Yeah, especially the Japanese version. The English version, while it's okay, I would prefer that. You're better off watching it subbed.
Yeah.
Oh, I also played in Japanese for this playthrough as well, which I didn't do as a kid.
Same.
So. Okay, so I guess we'll move on.
I loved Shinichi Kinemaru too much.
The like quote-unquote last story, but that's not the actual last.
Oh yeah, back to the most powerful being in canon.
So this is like you have to do the story to unlock the last story, but you have to do big story. If there's any sort of theme in his story, it's about friendship, I guess.
Yeah,
like how
I'd
it's
say
like
so, for
everlasting and like Big chasing after Froggy, who's possessed by Chaos's tail. Very just like it seems so silly to me. It's like, okay, we're gonna add this in here. This is why this is like.
But I mean that's Sonic
like,
in a nutshell.
Yeah, but it's also just like one of those instances where it's like this is a video game.
Yeah,
this is a video game ass video game.
It also reminds me of the Monkey Destruction Switch. It's like this is a video.
Oh
game.
yeah.
It takes me so out of it. I'm like, really?
I mean, I don't really mind that type of stuff.
I mean, it's funny, but like how upgrades were handled in general in SA2 are probably better in my opinion.
I just thought it was funny with the Monkey Destruction Switch because Knuckles can very easily just Yukin the monkey in the cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's Knuckles, so.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, Big has his boss fight with Chaos 6 at the end.
Yeah.
Which is somewhat important, but that's just because the fact that he's there, not because it's actually happening. Not because he has importance to it, but because it's an important moment, but he's just there for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Like, Big story is... I mean...
It's the definition of a side story.
Yeah.
Before a side stories like actually like existed.
Yeah.
It's
I think he would have been a cool thing where it's like you had to put his pieces of the story together, like a little bit of a puzzle piece if we went for your idea from earlier, where like you get like optional stuff with him.
Yeah, like it would give you a supplement story just to kind of have some extra stuff to like look at.
Yeah.
And say if you didn't do like each of his visits in the other stories, you see him in the last story, you go, "Oh hey, it's that character from
It's the
you know,
character that I saw walking around for whatever reason. I wonder why he's here. Maybe you go
yeah,
back
then
and
that
play
would
the mini
encourage
games.
you. Exactly, that would
Yeah.
encourage you to go back. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So now that that's over with, I guess we'll get into the final story. So the story presentation of this game as a whole, I think, is a little messy, and I think it kind of
Yeah.
comes to a head in this story because, like,
Before we-
throughout the story, it was kind of like, okay, these characters like don't necessarily like really know or care about what's going on, and then like Chaos steals all the Chaos Emeralds, Angel Island falls again, and then they know what's going on, and they're like, okay, and then they all meet up in Station Square. What were you gonna say before I continue?
I think before we dive a bit deeper into the last story, like, I, overall, I would say the story is about Chaos,
Yeah.
who we did, which we've gone into a little bit, but we'll definitely get into him a lot here. Tikal, the history of the Chaos Emeralds, and also the Master Emerald. But the story is very much about overall Chaos and Tikal, I think.
It's about Chaos and Tikal and the ancient Echidna tribe,
Yeah.
specifically. Like that would be the overarching thing in this game.
Yeah.
Is so it's like a circle of events. What happened was Tikal's dad, I can't remember his name, but like is going out. He's on a quest for power, pretty much like destroying villages, yada yada yada, just for more power and more power. And then the last straw is like he's going for the Master Emerald and stuff like that, and then Chaos is like nah, and Tikal the whole time is like nah, but then
Tikal's father's called Pakamaka.
okay, Pakamaka,
It's a really weird name.
Pac-Man,
I'm sure I butchered it. Hang on.
Pakamano.
He's Pac-Man. There, that's his name.
Yeah, so Pac-Man.
Yeah, so Pac-Man.
Pac-Man's on the quest for power. But
I
yeah,
always
so
do it.
to call
Smash
like
Ultimate.
in the flashbacks is like, no, you shouldn't be doing this. This is just gonna cause him more pain. Like, when are you gonna stop? And then like Chaos goes on a rampage and has to be sealed in the Master Emerald, where his hate will brew until what happens in Sonic Adventure. And then what happens in Sonic Adventure, and that sounds good on paper, right?
Yeah.
Because that's cool. But the way that it's actually shown to you throughout the story is very, like, it's not done very well, in my opinion. I find it a little bit messy and kind of all over the place. I don't really like the fact that you have to put all those puzzle pieces together because of the fact that the characters themselves are, like, so confused and, like, I don't know. But anyway.
I think that's kind of like the whole point of it, though, is that like everyone's story comes together not because they're interacting and interweaving with each other like on their own. It's more so this one singular event is what's tying everyone together, and then it comes to a head at the very end, where now they have to kind of come together in order to like fix this problem that they've all been kind of seeing or being like told to them through Tikal.
But those
Obviously, it
characters
could
are
have been
only
done
given
better.
like certain pieces of information.
Yeah.
The player is given all of them, but the players, I mean, the characters themselves are not, which is what makes it weird.
Yeah,
least
and
for me,
like that's
but-
kind of like where the video game in it comes in, is where like
Yeah.
you're told all this, but they aren't. So it's more so pieces for you to put together rather than for the actual characters. And I
Yeah.
can see where that can be a problem, but I mean, I never really like had an issue with it, just because again, it's more so for you as the player to be like, hey, all of these events are happening, and you're slowly going to be able to piece together this story that took place centuries or however long ago about what happened and why Chaos is the way he is. And now that you know all this, here's like the finale of it all, and you get to see how it all plays out now. Obviously, if they were to, I think, again, if they were to ever remake the game, I feel like maybe those events would be more better conveyed through to the actual characters, as
I mean,
opposed
in
to
the
just
players, because they're not exactly well conveyed very well to the player either.
Yeah, and in some instances, I feel like it can be very confusing because, like, again, they're trying to give it to you in vague bits and pieces, so that way you're left to the imagination a little bit to think, okay, so what happened here? What's going on here? Obviously,
Yeah.
they could have maybe explained it more at the like very end. Maybe Tikal could have went over the whole story with everybody, and kind of like gave them give everyone
Yeah.
the whole details in its
Yeah.
entirety.
She
And
did.
then
She
they-
did have some things to say before.
Yeah,
But I think, yeah, I think you're right about that, right there. I also think that just like, I don't know. I guess it's like it's intriguing when I'm playing through the stories themselves, like a little bit intriguing, like what was that? But it's also like kind of a pace breaker in the middle of the story.
all the problems you have with SA1 with that specific plot point is done. Like they do all of that and they fix it in SA2 with
Yeah.
like Gerald and like the space colony. It's
SA2
basically the
builds
same
up
thing.
to its story. Yeah, SA2 builds up to its story in a lot more coherent way than
Where,
SA1
like,
does.
Gerald explains everything to everybody, not just the player, but to the actual characters in the story, so that way it impacts them on like an emotional level to where they're able to act on it. Whereas Sonic Adventure tries to do the same thing, but it doesn't really do it. They like the players don't like the characters in the story aren't impacted on like an emotional level to act upon anything that they
yeah,
kind of
because
see.
it's not taking place necessarily like in the now.
Yeah,
It's not like it doesn't
some-
even necessarily like concern them very much. It's very it's like in SA2. It's like all that stuff weaves its way into the actual story.
Yeah.
And in
Like, I
SA1,
mean,
it
does at
barely
the very
does.
end. It does at the very, very, very end when
Yeah.
Chaos goes on a rampage and decides to destroy Station Square. But like up to that point, you're kind of thinking, well, what does this all mean? You're given very small hints with like the mural in Lost World with Sonic, where you see this giant monster.
Yeah.
And you're like alluded to like what Chaos can become when he gets all the Chaos Emeralds. So like they do drip feed you a teeny bit, but like
yeah, that's a
SA2
cool scene.
SA2 does a much better job of like drip feeding you this like climactic thing that they're alluding to, or like a very dangerous thing that they're alluding to, and then eventually it happens, and then you're like, oh well, now it
It's
actually
also
matters.
a
'cause
legitimate
people know about
twist
it.
in SA2.
Yeah.
So
Like they definitely learned a lot of the mistakes that they made story wise with Sonic Adventure, and you can see it like how they rectify that in Adventure 2.
yeah.
But it definitely makes the ending to Adventure 2 seem a little rushed for them as far as like scrambling to like tie everything together. But I don't think it's bad. It's just for its time, it didn't really age well in comparison to what they eventually do, especially in the sequel.
Yeah, SA1 you meant, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so
it's a good template for what would they eventually do in SA2 and like work to better.
So
Agreed.
ironically, Tikal wants to seal Chaos back into the Master Emerald, even though that would continue the cycle of pain
Yeah.
and hatred that her
'Cause
father
he would just
was
have-
doing.
He would basically just still have those emotions built up in him and
Yep,
no way to
and-
let it out.
Yeah.
Nothing wouldn't resolve anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is ironic coming from the character who is telling her father to stop doing the same things, more or less. So,
I think it was just because she didn't know how to stop his
Yeah,
quell his
yeah.
anger, whereas Sonic does, and it's by like canceling out his negative energy with
with
the
the Chaos
positive energy.
Emeralds.
Yeah.
Because you can turn
Which
your
is
thoughts into reality.
And
Yeah,
that's what like Chaos does to become perfect Chaos. He turns all of his negative energy to become this monster. Whereas Sonic, due to everyone's positive thoughts and feelings, he turns into Super Sonic.
Yep.
Which is also a cool little thing that they like detail. They kind of give reason to why Super Sonic is the way he is, because he's like a being or like a transformation born of like positive energy.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is something prior to that you sort of just assumed, oh well, he just turns this yellow thing. There's no real there's no real explanation for why, and then now we finally get like an explanation as to why it happens the way and why he looks the way he does.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, the supersonic cutscene it's kind of funny, but it's also pretty hype. In this
It's
game.
funny when you watch it just because of the way it's done, but like it's also
Yeah.
cool because of just the like from from like a thematical standpoint, it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I would
It's
like to see
pretty
that remade with better presentation and not like, "Woo, yeah, Sonic!"
Yeah.
in the background. It's super funny.
Yeah, like I think again,
Where
Sonic
are
X,
you people?
Sonic
Yeah.
X kind of does it justice, mainly just because you can actually like choreograph things in a way. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
not perfect, but
Yeah.
and again, SA2 kind of takes that same like using your positive energy to transform into something at the very end, with like how Shadow kind of understands what he needs to do to turn, and then he helps Sonic and turn Super Shadow, using whatever positive energy that they have to like fix everything, since they're everyone's last hope and whatnot. So like the Sonic Adventure 1 sets up a lot of the groundwork for what SA2's story uses as like a base to like weave its way around in narrative.
Oh yeah. They definitely improved. I think Sonic Adventure 2 is probably one of the best, like, direct sequels that
Yeah.
I've ever played. Like, in the terms of how much it improves upon its
Because
predecessor.
it feels like an actual sequel.
Yeah, and
in-
how much
yeah,
it,
in a lot-
like,
in,
they
like, almost every
learned from
way.
the development of SA1 and put that into SA2 is huge. But
I mean, they even talk about it too. But
Yeah.
like, obviously, you guys will dive more into that when you guys discuss SA2.
Yeah. So
Which I'm looking forward to.
It's very hard not to draw comparisons to it because
Yeah, for
there
sure.
are so many similarities, and because it's existed for so long, and
Yeah.
it's such a like a debated topic.
yeah.
So
But I really do love the whole symbolism that Supersonic represents.
yeah,
It's
he's just everyone's hopes basically, and
Yeah.
like personified.
And he takes that and uses the positive energy to quell chaos of his hatred and negative energy, and then they all drift off into Sonic Adventure 2 multiplayer.
Yeah. Or back into the Master Emerald where they just kind of sleep.
or not Knuckles. Chaos ended in Sonic Battle.
Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
it's back into the Master Emerald. I think it's just like passing, like finally being able to pass, right?
Possibly, because like he does reappear in Sonic Battle, like he was like what ST was talking about.
Right.
So like he's not they're not completely gone from like the world. It's
Pretty
more
good
so
story Battle has too.
yeah. It Sonic Battle alludes a lot to like past Sonic games and specifically the Adventure era. So
Yeah. I should really replay that.
Okay, so, and then you have the perfect chaos fight,
Yep.
which is pretty okay. It's not super
I
challenging.
wish it didn't play Open Your
Oh
Heart.
my god! Like, put them
First.
in
Yeah.
reverse. The
yeah, it should have been in
songs.
reverse.
My goodness, I don't
Like I
it's-
understand why they did it, because obviously like everything builds to a climax and you're all hyped up, so now let's give you this really good hype song to like keep you motivated, and then you think you've won, and then all of a sudden he comes back, so they wanted to like to fill you with like this serious like sense of dread that
Yeah,
he's
but-
like not defeated yet.
I think they could have done that in a better way, because like him
Yeah.
coming back or something, like it doesn't
Or maybe
feel like a
add, like-
conclude like it. They did like suspense, obviously, but it's just
Yeah.
like I don't know, like if they had like the suspenseful dun 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 like happening the first time, then it still would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then like something else happens before the second phase, and then like Sonic comes out of Supersonic or something like that, and then has to go back in, and Chaos is even stronger or something, and then Open Your Heart plays, or they just played Open Your Heart twice or something, and they have a smoother transition. Would have
Yeah.
been better than what they did, in my opinion, because it's kind of like, yeah, super empowering, yeah, and then it's like dun 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 dun. dun.
Or
I'm
maybe
like,
like
oh,
if
man.
they infused a bit of Perfect Chaos's theme in with Open Your Heart for the
Yeah.
second phase.
Mm.
You know, like they kind of
It
give
would
it
have been
that
cool to
more
have, like, a
sinister
unique
undertone.
Yeah, to have like a unique boss version for Open Your Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of this stuff is stuff they could do in a remake. But
Yeah.
like to me, the Supersonic boss is basically the very beginning of Boost Sonic. In a way,
Mm. Yeah, I can see how
And-
you'd say that.
you see like I like, while I do like the Supersonic boss, it's also the very start of the problems that end up becoming what would become like the running gag of Sonic final bosses, where it's just run straight at the boss and then that's all you do.
Or this modern Sonic where you run away from the boss.
Yeah,
right?
like the perfect chaos fight in Sonic Generations is more in line with what I would hope or what I would have wanted from a boss fight against Chaos. Maybe a little bit more extravagant. Like it would have been cool to like see him like going up and down the like up and around the buildings, like running along the buildings and whatnot, jumping off of them, kind of like parkouring.
That would have been cool.
That would have been really cool.
Something like cinematic, more so than it is. I agree.
Or win some quick time events.
Oh boy, my favorite.
I mean, I feel like in that instance it would have worked just for like the cinematic ness of like the boss fight.
Yeah, because
but
Sonic final
obviously,
bosses like don't necessarily like test all the skills that you've learned up to this point.
No.
They're kind of just like
go fast,
super empowering movement, like super empowering moment and cutscene. And as much as like SA2's final boss does not test your abilities throughout the game, it's still one of my favorite moments in the game.
Yeah,
because
and that just has to do with like the atmosphere that they build up.
If they're gonna do that, they should run with it.
And the music.
Yeah.
So those are my thoughts on the story of Sonic Adventure. Overall, messy, but I like the individual character themes for the most part, and I think it has a good message. It's just not
It's like a sloppy
conveyed
Joe.
well until the very end.
I feel like that's the game as a whole, really.
Yeah.
It's sloppy in some like spots, but overall it's still enjoyable because of the fact that like they didn't do a ton of things bad for a first time. It definitely could have went worse.
Absolutely.
Thankfully it didn't. I would still say this game's very much a classic for all of its faults.
Yeah.
But I think also those faults kind of lend to its charm.
So do we want to do a conclusion section now then?
Before we do, just a quick praise to the soundtrack because
oh sure, yeah.
The soundtrack to this game is
so good.
It's really good.
It's great. Great soundtrack. Has some
it's
of my
definitely
favorite Sonic songs.
It's definitely what sets the tone for modern Sonic going forward.
It sets the tone for all of like the Sonic from Sonic Adventure to like Sonic I wouldn't say Sonic 06. I think that's a different vibe, but until then.
Well, I meant sets the tone for as far as like you went from the classics where it had like its epic moments for like the music, but it wasn't really like bombastic like how it is in Sonic Adventure. And then from then on you kind of set like a standard where like for the most part Sonic soundtracks, they're never really bad. Maybe like the only ones you can really say is like Sonic Chronicles, and that just has to do with the fact that it sounds bad because of the sound font that they're using and instruments and whatnot. But like for the most part it sets the bar for this is what Sonic's music sounds like as far as like quality goes, which is
the
good.
samples that they use in Chronicles are pretty poor, especially the sound design irritates me more than the music. But sound font isn't necessarily the right word, but I know what you're saying.
I don't think we need to go super on with the soundtrack, but
Open Your Heart,
anyone watching
banger,
hasn't
Speed
heard,
Highway, banger, Emerald Coast, banger, Windy Valley, banger, banger after banger after banger in this soundtrack.
Yeah,
it's just like they perfectly encompass the mood that they need to for each like location, which is really nice.
Orchestral pieces as well.
Yeah.
Boss fights. I love
Chaos
the
6
boss fight between Gamma and Beta, like the final boss.
That theme is cool.
Gamma story. Yeah.
I think Chaos 6 has my favorite boss music.
That's really
Yeah.
Even though you only listen to it for like 2 seconds when you're playing as Big.
Yeah.
Dude, that's because I told you Big's
He's too strong. He just
Big is too powerful.
Yep, you're right. You're right the whole time.
I mean,
soloed Perfect Chaos on his own.
And then Sonic had to get in the way.
Yeah, he ruined it.
What a chump. Anyway, Closing
so,
thoughts.
So to conclude, a lot of people say that this is a rough transition for Sonic into 3D. Like that's the reviewer meme, right? That
I think it is in the grand scope of things because they didn't like Sonic Adventure 2 takes what was good and just does things better, but they don't take what was bad and try to fix it. They more so just kind of throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up in the grand scheme of things, it seems like a bad footnote to start to like put you like a bad first step, just because of the fact that like later on they don't actually do anything with the bad. They just more so just get rid of it, or it stays there, and then the good things just kind of get better. But it still doesn't really address the like elephants in the room.
Yeah,
I understand that point, but I feel like it is a bit unfair.
Yeah, like it's definitely an overstated and maybe an like exaggerated criticism of the game. But
yeah,
I think when they're saying that it's in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah,
Sure.
This game would be more than it is, or more than it was, if it was less. If they tried to do less with this game, then it would be much more of a bigger thing for me. Like you can like I said at the beginning of this video, the ambition behind this game is its biggest strength and its biggest downfall.
Yeah.
And Sonic is, like I said, it's probably my favorite that he's controlled in 3D, like this in SA2.
I mean, it happens again in 06 too. The game is so over ambitious that it just fell apart.
Well, plus the
06
development team problems.
Other problems too.
Sega wanted to push it out for holiday with Microsoft,
and the fact that half the team was forced to work on
Sonic
a port for 06 for the Wii, which became Secret Rings.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think Sonic Unleashed is probably the example of like over ambition done well. But I'm sure you'll get to that when you have that talk.
I would say SA2 is like the time where ambition went right, but
yeah, in the for like ambition done right within its scope.
Yeah. So it's like Sonic, the best he's ever controlled in my opinion, but the things like the presentation, random big gameplay, stuff like that kind of hold the game from being as good as it could be as a package.
Yeah.
At the very least, this game is like beloved and super memorable by a lot of people who play it.
Fans still love this game.
And it's like
newcomers,
one of those things,
not so much.
It's one of those things where can I recommend this to new players or people going back? And honestly, I don't know. I would say yes for Sonic alone, because technically everything is optional.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can play Sonic Story on its own and enjoy that. And I would say everyone should do that. But as far as playing the whole game, do I really recommend that for people? I don't think so.
It's a hard sell to people just because the quality of it, of like the overall experience varies so greatly.
Yeah.
Because again, you have like the very highs of Sonic, but then after that, it's just like it's just playing through the same thing, just slightly worse each time.
Mm-hmm.
Or like slightly different to the point where it's not the original experience that you like played the game for. And for some people, that's just not fun or not interesting. But I still think overall the game holds up to a decent degree relative to everyone's opinions of it, because of the fact that like it was so ambitious and it tried so many things, and it may have failed at a lot of stuff, but it also did a lot of things right that the sequel kind of leans into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree with saying sometimes less is more, and that, forgive my dog, I believe that if they were to have made this game but just focused on the main trio, like how it was in Sonic 3, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, focus the story mainly around those three. You had 3 stories, but that was more well put together, more coherent.
If they had more focus between Tails and Knuckles, exactly. Like the stuff that we discussed earlier. But it's hard for me to like agree with that too, because we got the stories like Amy and Big. I mean, sorry, not Big. Fuck you, Big. Amy and Gamma, who are like my favorite individual
at the same
stories
time, like
in the game.
we have like Gamma's story, which is still my favorite one in the game.
I feel like they could have told Amy's story alongside someone like Sonic's as like a supplement, where you
Or
like you get bits and
Gammas.
where you get bits and pieces of like what Amy's doing, uh, or even if they had done like 4 people, like if they'd done Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles and Amy, and then Amy's story is where you get like Biggs. I mean not Biggs. You get Gamma's stuff.
Or if they just took Biggs out and then focused on those 5 and had a little bit more time to cook. And you didn't see
Maybe.
like the Amy stuff in the Sonic story, and you didn't have like Tails gameplay being the way it was. It's just, yeah, it's
Because I feel like Amy and Gamma's stories could have been together, and it would have actually worked out better.
it could
Or
have,
like
yeah.
if,
I just
if
like
she
the mech
helped
gameplay.
him track down the other robots after you reach a certain point in the story, and like they start to like where like her and Gamma meet, and then afterwards they like team up and whatever to deal with the rest of the problems while dealing with Zero chasing after them, and then Gamma still trying to find the other birds. I feel like that might have lended itself to making it more impactful, both of their stories. While
Yeah, that could have
you
been
could-
interesting.
While you could still again have Big the Cat as like that optional side mission mini game that you could do in each of the characters' campaigns in each of the like a stage for each of them. Like Sonic's, that could have been where you found Big in Emerald Coast, or Amy is where you meet Big in Twinkle Park.
Yep.
And then maybe like Knuckles or Tails, you would have found Big in Skydeck.
Okay, so to close it up, we'll do final thoughts from each of us. Then we'll do like shout outs, a little bit about yourself, where people can find you, and then we'll close it out. So we'll start with myself. This is still one of my favorite Sonic games. As many flaws as it has, I find myself returning to it just for fun to play Sonic all the time. I think it's a good time, and I genuinely recommend that to others. I can't say that it was like a bad 3D start for Sonic, because Sonic has never controlled better between this and Sonic Adventure 2. If anything, they should take more from these games. And
I agree.
if this game had a little bit more time to cook in the kitchen and had a little bit more focus with that ambition, it could have been something more than it is now. But the nostalgia, memories, and love I have for this game aren't going to go away. So it's like a love. It's like a love, but also a hate. I can't say hate, but like, you know what I mean. It's one of those things where I love it, but I just wish it was more. Yeah, that would be my overall thoughts on Sonic Adventure. You guys can go ahead.
I think, I still love this game to bits. This was one of, I think this is like the 4th Sonic game I ever played. I really enjoyed it. Like you said about Sonic's gameplay, I mean, I can't elaborate any further because you pretty much were spot on. But just to reiterate, yeah, Sonic feels fantastic in this game. I'm always kind of surprised by how good he feels the control whenever I replay this game, especially compared to the boost iterations of him, where he feels a lot more
Like a car.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like a car almost, and I don't like it. But yeah, is the story fragmented? Yeah. Does it lose focus? Yeah. Are some characters way more fun to play than others? Of course.
Yep.
But I think Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are a really fun part of the game. I think Amy and Gamma are too. But I mean, I'd lie if I said I wouldn't boot this game up sometimes just to play Sonic's levels again. So yeah, it is a great 3D Sonic game.
For the most part, like my thoughts are kind of similar to like both of yours, where I enjoy it a lot. I haven't really played it again recently, but that probably will change at some point once I bother to get the PC version and get like the mods for it, or some way to fix my Dreamcast up to play on my TV or on my monitors. But It's one of the games that I played for, like, it was like one of my first Sonic games, so obviously, like, I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I don't really mind playing the other playstyles, but that's also, again, my nostalgia in me kind of numbing myself to the issues of the other playstyles and what they have. So it's hard for me not to recommend it to someone under the pretense of having like bias to it. But like I can understand why people wouldn't want to play it, just because again the other playstyles are so vastly different as far as quality goes compared to Sonic's story.
And a lot of them can still be fun.
Yeah,
regardless.
but it's just they're just not to the same type of standard that Sonic's story is.
Yeah.
And that just has to be, that's all that comes down to, just a multitude of factors, being him having the most amount of stages, so his story is overall more like fleshed out. His stages actually are the ones that they use as the base for everyone else's, so obviously he's always at the forefront of everything. His controls feel perfect compared to everyone else's, who tend to have some type of little nitpick or gripe in them because they're like offshoots of him. There's just a lot of small little details that like make the game as a whole hard to recommend to someone without sounding biased, but I would still probably recommend it to someone anyway. So
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think even if it's
even
just
to
the Sonic
experience
gameplay, or just to experience it and see where Sonic's like where he came from as far as the 3D games go. Plus, we didn't even talk about all the little classic games you get in the DX version as well, which are on the PC version. And we didn't even get into trial or mission mode. Mission mode specifically is all over the place, but we're not gonna get into that.
yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, that's something.
So
I think this was more about Sonic Adventure than it was about DX.
Yeah.
For sure. I just wanted to mention those things real quick. So, Craptus, where can the viewers find you? Is there anything you wanted to like plug?
Well, obviously you got my Twitter handle there, so you can follow me on that for more, like, just to keep up with me. We are working on a game that you can find at Craftus Legacy.
Those two, not me.
Yeah, the development on that will be. It
should be picking up soon.
There will be updates in the foreseeable future, so I would definitely stay tuned to that. We are still working on things. Things are progressing slower than we had hoped, but that's just due to the pandemic for the most part.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's the case with a lot of places.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's kind of it on my end as far as like me.
Yep. Plus, if you are a Sonic fan in Smash Brothers, definitely go give him a follow because he's one of the top Sonics in the game. Definitely one to pay attention to his gameplay, to learn and grow. ST, anything that you want to say, even though you are more of like a permanent person on here? Craftus will probably have on a lot, but regardless.
I mean, I love to have Craftus here again, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Always fun. Yeah.
I can have you back here for Sonic 06, the grand experience.
Yeah, that'll be interesting because I have a lot of opinions on that game.
Yeah,
same.
I think we all do. And plus, that's another fellow who played P06 even more. But anyway, yeah, I mean, again, you want to find where I am on Twitter, got the handle right down there, @SavingTermina_. You want to follow me if you want to check out my YouTube stuff. I'm planning some stuff for that. Hopefully in the near future, it would be YouTube account is Rocky Roll. And besides that, no, I'm not really anywhere else.
Okay.
I don't really use social media like that because I like my sanity.
Yeah,
fair
I
enough.
Don't blame you. But yeah, so if you guys are watching live or if you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, or anything like that, we do have a Discord server that you can join where you can talk to us pretty much about anything. We have events every week, you know, between Smash, party games, speedrunning stuff, all that sort of stuff. You could follow on Twitch to see these live. You can follow me on Twitter, JuicePolydot, or follow Craftus Legacy to see the game that we're developing. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button because next time we'll be covering Sonic Adventure 2. And we have a very special guest for that one. So I'm sure you guys will be happy to see that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's going to close out the first episode of the Juicecast on Sonic Adventure. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I certainly had a really good time talking about this game for the last 2.5 hours. Which is pretty much what I was expecting.
I can't wait to get food.
Yeah. So that's gonna do it. Yeah. I guess I will talk to you guys later. And sayonara.
Goodbye.
Shadow the Hedgehog. Ah, that's later.